No game tonight for the Buffalo Sabres. They're going to be back at it tomorrow on the road versus Washington, where, again, if they win, they will clinch a playoff spot. For more on yesterday's loss, though, to Ottawa, Paul Hamilton has a piece up at our website, WGR550.com. Around the rest of the league, it is a very light night, just 2 games. At 7, the Islanders host the Flyers, and then at 10, the Ducks, they have the Blues in town. While to the Diamond, the Yankees and Blue Jays, they are already underway on a beautiful Friday afternoon. New York leads the Marlins 4-2 in the 5th, while Toronto and the White Sox are tied at 1 apiece in the 3rd. And then the Mets, they will get going much later on tonight at 10:15. They are at San Francisco. While the minors, Bisons are at Omaha just after 7:30. And in college hoops, the women's Final Four starts tonight. UConn versus South Carolina at 7. We'll get things going. And then following that, it'll be Texas versus UCLA. While for the men, they will have tomorrow night, UConn versus Illinois at 6. And after that game, it'll then be Michigan versus Arizona. And heads up, football fans, as Pittsburgh prepares to welcome the nation to the unofficial beginning of the football season, the celebration will begin the night before with an unforgettable invite-only night of music taking place Wednesday, April 22nd at the Rivers Casino Event Center featuring Jason Aldean, John Morgan, and Shane Profit. Visit Odyssey.com/thenightbefore to enter now for your chance to win this national contest. Prizes do include round-trip airfare, 2-night hotel stay, and 2 tickets to the show. It's your Paddock Chevrolet Sports Update. Paddock Chevrolet with you for the extra mile since 1935. I'm Zach Jones for West New York's Voice of the Fan, WGR.
My dad's not here right now. He's still at work. So I'm going to blast him.
Mike Schopp and the Bulldog.
I'm going to see if there's a clean version so that my parents and the people at my school will not get mad at me. We've got the spritzer filled with water, just in case if stuff gets too fire. I'm going to set up the speaker, and I'm going to listen to
Mike Schopp and the Bulldog.
I think this is the best
Mike Schopp
feature that I've heard in a long time. I think his flow is really good in it, and I like his aggressiveness on it. And
the Bulldog.
Put not enough effort in it. I think overall his flow was good, but I don't like that mumble rapping. That was my review of
Mike Schopp and the Bulldog.
Didn't need the spritzer. Wasn't fire enough. No spritzer for you. No spritzer.
No, I mean, just such a disappointment. I just really, I'm going to really struggle today to find the words, because I mean, we've just been having so much fun with this hockey team and this rebirth, and to get to last night with all the whole thing is just out there for them, win, and they're in the playoffs, and just to have such a disappointing outcome and that effort, and to have it all just disappear like that is, man, it's a lot. I mean, I wasn't ready for it to end already. Were any of you? I mean, it just seems so abrupt. I'm sorry. Wait, what's that? Hang on. I've just been handed an important update, breaking news. Hang on, I gotta make it so I can read it. The Sabres can clinch their playoff spot with a win tomorrow. Oh, okay, all right, cool. Okay. Then everything's okay. Then we're good. Everybody okay? You all right out there? Sorry, just had a little fun with you. If that was fun, I don't know. Might not have been fun. Might have been a terrible idea to start the show that way. But, yeah, just kidding around. Sabres lost. Bummer. They did not capitalize on their first opportunity to clinch a playoff spot, but they have more to come, and hopefully it won't take. Heck, I'm not really sure how to explain this part of it. They could, I think there's a scenario where they could clinch before they even take the ice against Washington. Something about Detroit playing tomorrow afternoon, I think, against the Rangers. So, I mean, thoughts and prayers, but whatever. You never know. But what I find really weird about trying to explain that is that every one that I follow, that I count on for, like, the magic number tiebreaker stuff, is saying things today like, Well, the NHL hasn't updated their clinching scenarios yet. And that makes me kind of think, what do you mean? Like, the tiebreakers are the tiebreakers, right? We should be able to out here, I think, like, do we need the NHL to tell us what's going to happen? I'm confused about that. I'm inherently lazy, and I got up late today, so I did not look that up myself. But I just find that wording strange, that we're waiting for the league to tell us what the clinching scenarios are, when I think we should be able to look at the standings and determine them ourselves. But maybe it's definitely too complicated for me to do, especially now that the show has started. I mean, what do you think I am in here? I can't figure out anything now. I can't even read Twitter when I'm in here, especially by myself on a day where Mike is off. I am by myself just for now. Nate Geary will be here shortly. His real job is holding him up for a bit, but he'll be here in just a few minutes. We'll have our usual Friday visit with Sam Panayotovich. I'm not sure I want to vouch for how that's going to go. He notified me midweek that he would be at the White Sox home opener for today's appearance, and I'm not one to tell Sam to take the day off. He is. I think he's got like a streak going, and I think he's proud of being here. Last year through the summer, every Friday there's Sammy P, 3:30 p.m. I mean, he likes to show up and be heard from and be counted on, and we appreciate that about him. So anyway, 3:30 with him live from whatever they call the White Sox ballpark in Chicago. 4 o'clock, our buddy Joe Yurden on the Sabres and the NHL and the playoffs coming in, and last night in Ottawa. And then at 5, Brian Koziel, same thing, same drill, although with Nate here by then and Brian, I have a feeling we'll probably touch a little bit on the Masters, which comes your way next week. The return of our Majors bet with Mike, myself, and Brian. And so we'll talk to Brian, but mostly about the Sabres at 5. Look, I'm kidding around. Last night was, of course, really disappointing. I said it before I left here. I was gonna go out. I went to see my people at the Moore Room, and big crew of friends there, and lots of other people. And it felt sort of like a bulletproof night out, because the stakes, while the standings matter and the division and even the conference, the Sabres are 2 points behind Carolina now. Tampa is technically ahead of them because they played one fewer game. They have the same 100 points with a win yesterday. And so you have urgency from I want to finish in first place. I want to finish ahead of Montreal, which also took a hit yesterday with another Montreal win. They're now just 2 points back of the Sabres in third place. So Buffalo's in second, Montreal's in third, and Montreal has played one fewer game like Tampa. And so that right now is like that's a first rounder, people. So the standings still matter. There's not a lot of urgency or desperation, I think, and this might be evident in the Sabres game here for the last little while, to clinch the spot, because they're going to clinch the spot eventually. But and like I said, they might not even need to win a game tomorrow night to actually clinch their playoff spot. That could happen tomorrow afternoon. Won't happen tonight. Nothing really that interesting in the NHL is going on tonight. There's an Islanders game that matters for them and their playoff hopes, and whoever it is they're playing, I forget. It's someone. Is it maybe Philly? Anyway, whatever. The teams that are, Islanders are in a spot. Whoever they're playing is hanging on, trying to get in. But as far as the Sabres and the top of the Atlantic, nothing tonight, nothing until tomorrow. So anyway, last night was super fun, packed bar, lots of friends, hockey game on, and it doesn't turn out your way. It's a close game. A couple of empty netters make it look maybe a little more crooked, or maybe kind of justifies the score, because Ottawa, for the back half of the game, if not the entirety of the last two periods, was the better team in the game. So they deserve the win. But, how dejected can you really be? It's all right. I got 5, 6, 7 more games here, 6 more games to either get 2 points or have any of these teams chasing me drop 2 points. Like, it's going to happen. So there wasn't other than missing out on a chance to celebrate with a bar full of people, many of them your friends, like I didn't really lose anything last night. I lost a little bit of sleep, ate some drive-through late, which is not something I ever do. Pretty regrettable, even still now, many hours later. But, mostly fine, just disappointing outcome in the game. That said, if you really are into this division thing, and I have been, they had been in the spot, and they're still, they still have the same point total as the team ahead of them in Tampa. You might want to see them, win a couple of these games, like win these next two. You want to win the division, make sure you take care of Washington tomorrow. They're a team that's like barely alive in the playoff thing, but they have a pulse, I guess, is how you'd have to look at them right now. And I think, getting first place is like more to me about like it's the prestige of getting first place. It's going from worst to first, which the Sabres would accomplish if they end up in first place. It is, of course, also having home ice for the entirety of the the entirety of the Atlantic Division portion of the playoffs. Carolina's 2 points ahead. So you want to catch them? Well, you better beat Washington. And then, of course, after Washington is the showdown with Tampa, right? We'll have all day Monday to sort of get primed for that. So I don't want to look too far ahead right now, but that should be after the last visit Tampa had here. I know a lot of Sabres fans immediately after that were pointing to April 6th. And things have gone well enough that this game is going to still matter a lot. It's not at a point yet where I think you can say whoever wins that game is going to win the division, but obviously another head-to-head win over Tampa, keeping them from getting the points, you getting the points would be ideal. And I still do care about that. I want to play, the lowest seeded team I can. And the way to do that is to end up first. And it's also, right now, tracking like it's going to be Montreal. And, look, if Sabres don't get on track here and keep their lead over Montreal, they're in danger of dropping below the Canadiens, which means you're going there to start a series if those two teams end up 2 and 3 in the division. And while I'm not scared. Is it okay to say Montreal is scary, but I'm not scared of them? Like, or should I just choose different words?
It's a weird paradox, but I understand.
Like they have their high end is super, super hot. They just have a lot of talent and a lot of skill, and they've got just the Hudson is just such a weapon on that blue line. And they've got a nice team there, but I don't feel like I can get them. I feel like I can play my game. I can defend their studs, and I think top to bottom, I feel like the Sabres are a more complete team. I think there's scarier high end talent on Montreal. That first line is maybe as good as any first line in the league with Caulfield, Slafkowski, and Suzuki. They've got the young kid Demidov is super hot on the second line. They're nice, and I think high end is better than mine. But I think overall, I like my team. I like Buffalo, and so I'm not like it's not my first choice at all, Montreal. But it's neither. I feel like oh no, I've got to deal with Montreal now. I think that's okay. But if I win the division and the wild card standings, and see now this maybe could be an interesting conversation at 803-0550. If I win the division and the wild card standings stay as is, i.e., with Boston in the first wild card spot, and whoever in the second, be it Ottawa, who has it right now. Columbus is also contending for that. And as I said, Philly's like hanging on by a thread. They're the team that plays the Islanders tonight, and they need a win. And a win, I think, only even gets them to like 50% to make it. Philly, without a win tonight, Philly, they're down to like in the 20 percentiles to make it. So, but if Boston is wild card 1. That's who you draw. And maybe, right, I'm not crazy. That's the way that works. Like the lowest seeded wild card would get the top seed. That would be Carolina. If the Sabres win the division, right now, that's Boston. If they drop to second, right now, that's Montreal. And I would tell you, for me, even though I'm telling you, I don't think Montreal I'm not scared of them, but they can be scary. I'm not worried about Boston at all. Even though they did a number on the Sabres last time, in here last Wednesday, I don't think that is a team that top to bottom. I mean, could the goalie get hot and steal games? Sure. Swayman is probably their best bet. And there's talent there, Pasternak, McAvoy. There's, good, but I don't think that's not a team that I feel real threatened by. We'll see if they get around to bringing James Hagens around and whether he has any kind of an impact. It gives them a little more juice. But I think I can handle Boston. I don't, and the reason I think that's interesting is like style wise, the Bruins are a tougher maybe matchup than Montreal because of the way that I think they'll play. They'll put you on the boards and just try to drag you down and hope that they get their chances with their skill guys. But they're hard, they're heavy, I think is how I want to put it. And Montreal definitely is not. But I think I would prefer Boston out of those two. And those are two teams that I think you have to work very hard, especially with Boston. Montreal has kind of always been, like, their reputation has never been, oh man, you better bring your 2x4s, put the foil on, you're playing Montreal. I mean, to some extent, everybody was like that in the late 70s and 80s, but really, that was more Boston's reputation. Montreal's always been, to me, speed, skill, finesse, look out, right? Maybe a great goalie on the back end. They don't have that right now, which is part of the reason I don't, find them that intimidating. Boston has always been more of a slugfest type of team, and I think they still are kind of that way. So you got that to keep in mind. But I think if I right now had to choose, I would take Boston. I don't think I want to say 100 out of 100 because I'm not positive I'm right, but maybe 90 times out of 100, I would say give me Boston and leave Montreal to someone else. Maybe you found out last night why some of us here at the station, I think my son is certainly like-minded. He kind of talked me into this a couple of weeks ago. We were talking about the standings and who you want to play. He was like, man, just look out for Ottawa. Ottawa, if the goaltender can figure it out at all, Ottawa's going to be a handful. And I think we saw that last night. I mean, Ullmark was not severely tested, but the very good chances, as few as there were, I mean, he was just buttoned up. And it seemed like Ottawa had the puck all night, And that's probably, I think the stats will tell you, it was a pretty even game that way. And that says a lot about how we experience the Sabres now. Because when they don't have the puck, like by a significant margin more than their opponent, it feels like the other team has it all night when really it's more like a, 60-40 game or even a 50-50 game. But Ottawa's good, man. And they did that last night without three significant pieces on defense. Sanderson, Shabbat, and they got a young kid, Yarmolchuk, I think is the name, who got concussed. And we're not sure what he is yet, but he's promising and was good early for them when he showed up. But got hit in the head and missed last night's game. So they were missing 3D that are at least two for sure really matter. And the other guy probably is going to end up being a significant player for them moving forward and even in the playoffs. So that's a team that I think still is pretty threatening to me. I just think they've got a lot of high-end stuff there, and I think you saw it last night. It was a tough game for the Sabres. They could not really get much going. Ottawa's speed on the forecheck just really hemmed them in. Nate Geary has walked in the middle of me just, riffing over here.
I wasn't sure if I should just go in there and wait for the segment or just abruptly come in.
And just roll in. I'm happy to have you.
I know this comes as a shock to a lot of people, but I do have a job.
Yeah, no, I said you had something going on.
So I had to tend to my Fields for a brief moment.
My Fields.
But largely, if we're talking takeaways from yesterday, yeah, Ottawa being okay and pretty good when they've got at least just level, decent, average goaltending. I kind of just felt like the Sabres were flat and stunk for 2 periods. They were okay in the first period, and they get that goal. It was like early in the second, and
8
then
minutes or so,
and then the wheels kind of came off. It was very low event hockey for most of that game. I think I heard, in the first period, maybe even early second period, Rob Ray talking about how, or maybe it was even first intermission, and it was Marty talking about how like both of these teams are playing really tight. There's not a lot of give and take, but they can't play this entire way for 60 minutes. And then, Ottawa didn't. They sort of woke up out of their shell, and the Sabres really did not have a ton of answers. There's a little bit of this for me, which is I don't want to be overreactive to 2 players that don't have big numbers in the lineup, and Sam Carrick and Noah Ostlund, but like, they miss Noah Ostlund.
For sure.
Because he evens those lines offensively for them. He brings a speed element and I think a gamey element to the lineup. But right now they just they just don't have.
He's just a super smart
player.
player.
He's just and he fits he can fit in on any line.
Yeah.
And I do think that Carrick makes that fourth line go. And it's no shot at Dunn. I think is a fine, can plug and play player. But you feel the fourth line, I think, at times, since Carrick has entered the lineup, drag the body of the rest of the team.
Well, especially when Benson is on that wing there with Malenstein and with Carrick in the middle.
And that really works.
That became maybe the best. Not that Benson, it's tough. Like I think helps elevate that line along with Carrick, but I also think Benson probably belongs somewhere else in the lineup. Like, I think he's getting a shot with Norris now, which also makes sense. That's what the lines look like at practice today in advance of tomorrow's game in Washington. But yeah, no, I agree with you. That fourth line had sort of, it's the fourth line. It's never going to be like your top scoring line, but it was carrying its weight a little bit more in that way and gave them even more. Less of let's just survive 45 seconds with the fourth line on the ice. Like they might actually be able to do something. And they have had with Dunn in the lineup at times that, before he left the lineup, actually, they looked like that was going pretty well.
Yeah. And then you got a clear upgrade, I think, in Carrick. I think she got a clear upgrade there.
So it's a bit, we'll see. Probably going to be Kozak tomorrow, it looks like. Again, if practice is any indication, they fiddled with a couple of things, moved a couple pieces around.
Don't going to the top line, by the way, I think I like. They've got to wake up Josh Norris on the second line. So I think putting Tuck with Norris, which worked earlier before the second injury or whatever injury, whatever stage of games Norris is playing. Like I tweeted out yesterday, and listen, I think everyone's initial reaction is, Dylan Cousins certainly looked like a player that they could use, and man, they lost the trade. And I think making that he's got 26 goals this year.
He's having a really nice
He's having a nice season for them. And
he's basically he's having the year he had when he got paid here.
And the availability piece, I think, is the other big piece to this whole thing. But I think at the end of the day, a lot of people still really, if all things are equal and Norris is playing in as many games as Cousins, which he's not, I still think everyone feels pretty good about Josh Norris. It's just, it hasn't really, since he's come back from injury, we call it 2 blocks of injuries, the early injury and then the middle one where he missed like 15 games. That in between was really strong for him. When he came back from the initial injury in the first game, like it was like, they've got a second line.
That coincided with them getting hot. Like it was around that time of the year when he came back.
And I don't mean to pick a scab because it's, this is hindsight and there's no reason to spend a lot of time talking about it. But this is sort of why I think a lot of people were clamoring for a Robert Thomas. Because right now, a Robert Thomas on your second line or on your first line or however you want to, distribute those first two lines, like there is some, I think, questions about the night-to-night, shift-to-shift consistency of Josh Norris. And I think there's plenty of meat on that bone if we want to dig in a little bit more on Norris. But, like, they've got to find a way to get him going. And I've liked at times when it's been Doan and Benson on that line or Doan and Ostlund on that line. But, for me, I think in a perfect world, you'd want Norris, you'd want to throw guys you need to get moving on Norris's line, not the reverse of that. You don't want to throw guys on his line to get him moving, but right now that's where I think, I think that's where the lineup's at. And the other guy that sort of needs to get going too, I think, is Ryan McLeod. And he's not a 30 goal scorer in the league.
No, but he's been off for like a month.
Yeah, it has not looked the same.
They kept winning games, but he was just sort of
his first 100 games with this team and this organization were like, wow. And he kind of hasn't really produced at that same level. The assist numbers are still there, but he is nightly their fastest guy. And he hasn't necessarily run offense on that third line. And even before Norris came back in the lineup, they were tinkering quite a bit with him on the second power play unit. He was driving play on the second power play unit. I also want to say from the Norris piece to this, I don't love him on the top power play.
Well, boy, the 2 power play goals they scored the other night were both really nice plays by him.
But I kind of think him and Tage together, you want to spread the wealth a little bit.
I like it because I like what they're doing with Quinn there now too. And
Quinn on the top power play is
moving Tage around is like, and I think Norris gives you that flexibility because he can also be the shooter if Thompson is down at the goal line or whatever. So I'm willing to give that some ramp up here myself. But yeah, the tinkering is noticeable and I think called for. Right,
agreed.
They haven't done a number on anyone in a little while,
and it hasn't looked easy is the word I'm using. I don't know that it's the right word.
Look, but this time of the year, it probably shouldn't.
That's right.
Like there is an element. I think
there was desperation from the Senators yesterday.
For sure, that
you can't manufacture if you're the Sabres.
You can't pretend you have it, right? And there's also fatigue, like long year. Like how many times can I pour this out? So there's just inherently, I hate to say it this way, but there's like a coast factor that just it comes in and it's just the reality. You got to really work to get through it. Right. If you're playing someone on the other side that is as talented and more desperate, that's a bad combo for you. If you're sort of to an extent a little too comfortable, which I think Tage Thompson, he said the quiet part out loud last week. We've worked hard to get to a good spot here. Which is sort of like, all right, just take it easy. We're fine.
Right.
So, all right. Nate Gary is here. We will hit up a timeout. The lay of the land is as follows. Sam Panayotovich coming up right after the break, live from the White Sox home opener, because Sam is.
I thought you were going to say White House. I was like, wow, Sam's really making it.
He is just that devoted to us.
Truly.
He's going to make his appearance from the ballpark. Joe Yerdon, noted jerk on the Sabres and the NHL. And then Brian Koziel will be with us at 5 o'clock. So a lot of hockey, obviously, here with what's going on.
It's also Masters Week next week.
It is, I know. I mentioned with you here, I figure we'll probably get a little of that with Brian in the 5 o'clock hour as well. 803-0550. Concern level, I hope, is, not something I really have to ask you about here. Line combinations, like who maybe concerns you is a gentler way to have a conversation, I think, about them right now. Like you got, even not so much just for clinching or first place or seeding or whatever, but thinking about the playoffs, like where do you think is like the scary part of this team that maybe worries you as we look ahead here on Easter weekend? I am the Bulldog. He's Nate Geary, and from Mike Schopp, you are listening to WGR. Grooving along here on a Friday afternoon. Good Friday, as a matter of fact. Easter on Sunday. I'm the Bulldog. Mike Schopp has the day off. Nate Geary along for the ride. We're efforting, that's what we say in the bit, efforting to reach our man Sam Panayotovich on the scene.
Did you tell him I was going to be on the show?
I did.
Okay, then I'm sure he's doing everything in his power.
He was, he might just be in a long beer line because he's at a ball game, which, you know, who doesn't want to be at a ball game? I mentioned it. It's Good Friday. I have one show story related to Good Friday.
Okay. There's a memorable Good Friday for you?
There's a memorable Good Friday.
Okay.
Mike and I were doing the show out at Seneca Gaming and Entertainment. Right, so slots and bingo, like it's right, and it's Good Friday. Why we thought that was it. But anyway, we're Good Friday, we're out there, and we're in this little corner of a room that's right next to the main bingo room.
Okay.
Right.
Bingo. Okay.
Bingo happening, right? And we start up. It's 3:00, and I'm just doing this. I'm doing what I do, right? And it's loud. I'm I'm not
bingo.
I'm not yelling, but
sure.
I'm talking. I'm doing my thing, right? And Mike, as it turns out, I guess he said something about Easter, and I said I'm so excited. We're hosting brunch at my house, and so lots of kielbasa and butter lambs. And Mike had never heard of butter lamb.
Really?
This is how sheltered grand. I don't know. He just never had heard of a butter. Didn't know about the butter lamb. So I'm explaining loudly. First of all, how in the world can you be 40 years old and not know what a butter? Wow, you live in Buffalo, all right, like that. And I'm just giving it to him for not knowing what a butter lamb is. And people that are playing bingo are coming toward us. And they're mad. They're really mad.
Because he doesn't know what a butter lamb is?
No, because they can't hear the numbers.
Amazing.
Because I'm yelling about butter lambs in a bingo hall, and they can't hear, their G34s or whatever.
That is the most Bulldog story I have ever heard.
And this guy, there was a guy, I'll never forget this guy, gray-haired guy, glasses, blue members only jacket. And security is holding him back. He is pointing at me and I can't hear him. I have headphones on because I'm still talking about butter lambs. But this guy is ready to go.
Give you the business.
With Radios the Bulldog, pointing at me like a security guard is holding him back. It was quite a scene. Order was restored. They explained to these people that we were being paid to be there, and that was that. But, I almost got into it with a bingo player.
In a blue members only jacket.
On Good Friday, no less. All right. Bingo Hall disaster stories. No, we're not. Sam Panayotovich is now on the West Her Hotline, live from the White Sox home opener. I am calling it the White Sox home opener because I have no idea what the name of the ballpark is anymore. U.S. Cellular, maybe? Anyway, Sam, did you hear the story, or are you busy just watching baseball and drinking beer?
A little bit of both, but let me raise the lamb story. I'm making, I do the rum ham for Easter every year. Have I told you about the rum ham, Bulldog?
The rum ham, you sent me video evidence and a recipe for the rum ham last year.
Oh, it's very simple. So I get 2 sticks butter, I get 4 cups brown sugar, and then a whole bottle of dark rum, preferably Myers rum. And then you cook all that together, and you pour that over the ham with pineapple rings, and you cook it for about 4 hours at 325. It is so much better than Danny DeVito's version in Always Sunny. It's incredible.
Everyone, see, Sam, value added already
he's
for
a value
Sam.
add.
He's got your Easter table all set for you. Yeah, so, okay, rum ham, I'm talking butter lamb. But, they can go together. There's certainly room on the table for all of these things, Sam. So anyway, how are things going at the ballpark today?
Well, the White Sox are winning. It's 3-1, so that's a good thing because as I've given the entire city of Buffalo the over 66.5, I've been getting some nasty messages on Twitter, believe it or not, about how the season's already over and blah, 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 including Sneaky Joe, who's very nervous. He texted me not good the other day when the White Sox fell to 1-5. But I can tell you right now, the White Sox are winning 3-1. This would be the big second win of the season on the march to 67.
called Have a Little Faith, Sam. Have a little faith, Sneaky Joe.
I'm really disappointed in Sneaky Joe. I mean, it's 162 games. I mean, you can't be panicking at 1-5. Right? I mean, the Red Sox aren't off to a good start. You don't see me worrying. I'm fine. I mean, I don't have money on anything either, but, maybe we'll change that. So, last weekend, Duke was bad for you, right? If I remember right?
Oh, brutal, yeah. So before the tournament started, and obviously we talked about the brackets and all that, and I gave my Final Four in multiple cities, and I felt good about it, right? I had Arizona, Michigan, Illinois. Bang, bang, bang.
Yep.
And then the last leg was Duke. Duke's up 19 points in the second half. And I'm thinking, I got a really good ticket. I had $200 at 30-1. So, that's $6,000. And
yeah.
I didn't hedge. I didn't buy off it during the game because I'm thinking to myself, there's no way they lose. And it's funny, Bulldog, FanDuel during that second half, FanDuel's like, here's the line for Duke, Illinois, right? Like FanDuel even put a lineup. So,
yeah.
I mean, it was an afterthought that UConn would come back. And, I've seen a lot of content this week about how that's one of the best shots in the history of the tournament. And naturally, I'm on the other side of it. But, yeah, I mean, you got to win that game when you're up 19 points, man.
I think that that's fair. I think
this is I always say this whenever Duke loses. This is what you guys get for betting on Duke.
Yeah, it's fair.
I hate
Nobody
Duke.
likes Duke.
No.
Yeah, I get it, and I don't like Duke either. But Nate, honestly, $6,000 is a good amount of money these days, man.
Yes, that's true.
So I was
as I like to say, or as everyone on Twitter like to say, the good news is Yankee season started for Duke fans, and the Lakers are in the playoffs, so everything's good. Everything's right with the world.
Look, I would have rooted for Duke too if $6,000 was on the line. I root for Duke if $100 was on the line.
Too,
so I don't have any problem with that. Sam Panayotovich on the line with us live from the Chicago White Sox home opener. So what do you got? Did you recalibrate here for the weekend with the basketball? Like what do you like going into tomorrow and looking ahead to Monday?
So I'm a big Illinois guy, but I went there. So this is completely biased. They are the better team for sure. They have a much better roster. And for those of you that follow Ken Pom and study that science, this is the best offense in the history of Ken Pomeroy. That goes back to 1997. So this is a very proficient and very elite offense at Illinois. If they make their shots, they could beat anybody. So when you see Illinois, 2-point favorite, 1.5, 2, I think they're going to win. But, as a guy who grew up in Chicago and went to Illinois, don't take that too seriously. I want them to win.
Mm-hmm.
I need them to win. I would love them to, but I do think they're the better team. On the other side, I've said all along, I think Michigan's the best team in the country. So, Yaxel is unbelievable. I trust him more than anybody. Game on the line, late second half. I trust him. I think we get a Big Ten final. I think it's Michigan against Illinois, and from there, I think Michigan wins because Michigan's just better. Michigan is so good on both sides. Before the tournament, I had Michigan over Duke, so I've just kind of morphed that Duke thought into an Illinois thought at this point.
I'm pretty sure you're probably not sitting at this ballpark with the NHL standings open on your phone, Sam, in part because you're talking to us on your phone, and that might be hard to do both of those things at one time, but you are talented and could probably multitask it. But the Sabres are no longer in first place. It's a big weekend here. The Sabres have got the Capitals on Saturday to try to sort of keep pace, and then they've got the Lightning on Monday. And that could, if we're thinking about our Lindy bet, that could be maybe the game here. Because I don't know this, but I feel like the Sabres need to win the division for Lindy to get Coach of the Year. I mean, it certainly wouldn't hurt anyway. He could still win it anyway, but I feel like with Cooper being the biggest competition, if they win it, Tampa, I feel like me and Mike might be in tough there. So you got to keep your eye on the NHL scoreboard on Monday, Sam.
Okay, that's fine. I don't know if Nate knows our bet. Nate, we the three of us collectively bet Lindy at 7-1. This would have been 6 weeks ago, maybe 7 weeks ago. I mean, they were, probably into the middle of February. So we have a good bet. I mean, obviously we did our jobs. I think it's such a good story. I mean, look, John Cooper, and we've talked about this for weeks now. John Cooper has such a much better roster and a much better organization. I I don't think him winning this many games and getting that many points is a big story. I think Lindy taking this team to where it's at, Nate, is the story of the season.
I mean,
so to me,
yeah.
and again, I have some financials here on my side,
Right.
but I think this is the story of the season, Nate.
I think so too. I've been sort of confused why it's even close, but because it's close, well, I know why it's close because Cooper's never won, and maybe there's some backdoor. The Team Canada, blah blah blah. But to me, it is since midseason, since really the Sabres have looked like they've looked. There's just really, to me, no. But I know we do a Buffalo radio show.
The problem is the Cooper narrative started before the Sabres got hot.
Yes,
and so that a lot of people have just sort of ridden with that. So anyway, all right. Well, Sam, enjoy the rest of your Friday.
Wait, hold on, Sam. I've got to ask him a question.
Wait, okay. Nate's got something.
Notre Dame national championship. CJ Carr Heisman thoughts.
I'd rather bet the Notre Dame title. And quick sidetrack, I just checked the odds. Lindy's minus 200 to win the Coach of the Year. Bulldog, I am very multi-talented. So we're in a good spot, right? If you bet 7-1 and the guy's minus 200, you did your job. At this point, you see what happens. I like Carr. I definitely do. Nate, I think I would bet Notre Dame title, though, before I would bet Carr Heisman. Their receiving core, I have some buddies that are boosters at Notre Dame, and they're like, wait till you see these freaking wide receivers.
Dude, the wide receivers. This is going to be the best wide receiver room maybe in
Notre Dame history.
Seriously. It is.
Yeah.
Larry Fitzgerald's son is a freshman, and he's ninth on the depth chart, and he looks amazing. Yeah. Exciting times.
Yeah, it's a bet. It's a bet. Notre Dame, you can find Notre Dame at 10 or 11-1 right now. And I know people don't want to make bets in April for a college football season. So you can save this. You can make the bet in August. It's not going to change much. The first national title bet I will make going into the season, no hyperbole, is Notre Dame at 10 or 11-1. I think that's the best bet on the board.
Glad Nate thought to bring it up. All right, Sam. Now enjoy the rest of your day at the ballpark. Enjoy your rum ham, and thanks again for fitting us in here. You're a beast, man. You don't want to miss. You don't want to miss a day.
I don't miss days like Mike. I'm here every day, every Friday. I'm here.
I love this guy. All right, Sam. Have a great weekend, man.
Later, buddy.
Talk to you next week.
See you guys.
That's
Bye-bye.
Sam Pantiotovich. You find him on the Chicken Dinner Betting Podcast at Chicken Dinner on the X Machine and at Bet Chicken Dinner on YouTube. So please keep him in mind when you're looking for, and them in mind, Chicken Dinner in mind when you're looking for betting analysis from Sam. All right, we'll hit up a timeout. More on the Sabres throughout the afternoon here. You got a thing, you got a piece of this team that is worrying you the most, power play, special teams, whatever it is. Let's just hang out and talk about the hockey team because it's kind of the thing that everybody's doing around town anyway. 803-0550 is the number. Joe Yerdon on the Sabres and the NHL at the top of the hour. He's Nate Geary in for Mike. I am the Bulldog, and this is WGR. Sorry, I apologize. I was late getting back. I was on the phone with the president. Good to have you here on a Friday afternoon.
Hey, Good Friday.
A good Friday. A good Friday.
A good Friday.
Let's make it a great Friday.
I might as well.
803-0550 is the phone number. I am the Bulldog. Mike Schopp is off today again. Nate Geary saddled up and riding. And like idiots, we went along with Sam, so we only have like a minute here. So not a lot of
You
time.
say idiot, I say
get,
creative.
Get into. I just can't tell time. That's all there is to it. So go.
Well, they say as you get older, the less you really care about time. Or is it the opposite? Do you think about time more?
I mostly find that it seems like it goes by really, 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 really quickly.
Especially when you're having fun.
When you're
with your old pal Nate.
Oh wow, I can't. I don't know if I've ever wanted to eject out of a 2-minute segment faster than I want to eject out of.
You drank some IPAs yesterday. Right?
Not a lot.
No.
Nothing, nothing zany.
I wanted to go with you. I wanted to meet you, but I'm on a little 3-day.
Yeah.
And as my friends would say, whenever I'm doing something that I have to tell everybody that I'm doing it, but I am on a little 3-day fast, so I figured one beer was not going to be good for me.
That could have been
yesterday.
a bad combination of things.
I was going to eat the late night spot with you.
Yeah,
so,
which again, not
good
super,
for anyone.
Not super pumped about the decision making.
No. You feel it today too.
A lot, actually. All right, let's hit a timeout. Joe Yurden on the Sabres right after this with Nate Geary and me here on WGR.
Though tomorrow on the road versus Washington, where again they can clinch a playoff spot if they do win. For more, though, on yesterday's loss to Ottawa, Paul Hamilton has a piece up at our website, WGR550.com. Around the rest of the league, though, it is a very light night. Just 2 games. The first one is at 7. The Islanders will host the Flyers. And then at 10 o'clock, the Ducks have the St. Louis Blues in town. To the Diamond, the Yankees and Blue Jays are already underway as we have some early afternoon baseball. New York does lead the Marlins 6-2 in the 7th, while Toronto trails the White Sox 3-1 in the 7th. The Mets will get going much later on tonight. They are on just after 10:15 as they are out in San Francisco. While in the minors, Bisons are at Omaha tonight at 7:30. And in college hoops, the women's Final Four starts tonight. UConn versus South Carolina at 7. Then following that game, it'll be Texas versus UCLA. While for the men, they will get going tomorrow night. UConn versus Illinois at 6. And after that, it'll be Michigan versus Arizona. And heads up, football fans, Pittsburgh preparing to welcome the nation to the unofficial beginning of football season. And that celebration will begin the night before with an unforgettable invite-only night of music taking place Wednesday, April 22nd at the Rivers Casino Event Center featuring Jason Aldean, John Morgan, and Shane Profit. Visit Audacy.com/the night before to enter now for your chance to win this national contest. Prizes do include round-trip airfare, a 2-night hotel stay, and 2 tickets to the show. That's your Paddock Chevrolet Sports Update. Paddock Chevrolet with you for the extra mile since 1935. I'm Zach Jones for Western New York's Voice of the Fan, WGR.
It's Mike Schopp and the Bulldog.
All right, what's the report from outside?
I was outside for maybe 3 minutes. I counted 8 Q-tips. It's got to be one person that just throws their Q-tips out the window when they're done using them in their cars.
It's Mike Schopp.
One person?
More than one person using Q-tips and throwing them outside?
I don't think I use 8 Q-tips in a year.
I think I've never used 8 Q-tips.
And the Bulldog.
What the hell is going on out there? I don't think I want to work in a place where people roll their windows down if they're using Q-tips for Lord knows what and just throw them on the ground.
Well, you do.
What, is it the 70s?
Oh, that's not very nice.
It's Mike Schopp and the Bulldog.
Driving on the highway 65 miles an hour. I get a little left in my soda from the fast food drive. Out the window. That was the 70s. Who gives an F about anything?
Throw a burrito out the window.
Nothing matters. 2025, what are you doing?
On WGR.
Throwing Q-tips out of your car.
Sports Radio 550.
Cool of you to be hanging with us on a Friday afternoon. I am the Bulldog. Mike Schopp has the day off. Nate Geary filling in again today, and we thank him for making time to do exactly that. And we also thank Joe Yurden for doing exactly that, as Joe joins us now on the West Her Hotline. Noted hockey at Bleacher Report contributor is what the bio says. Joe Yurden, good afternoon, man. How are you today?
I'm doing good. We're almost back in Buffalo after the 5-hour plus drive to Ottawa, which kind of a letdown to not be coming back and start scheming about. Well, we still scheme about playoffs, but just to say it's over, it's done. The drought is dead. Ding dong,
Yeah, it's funny. I've been all over the road on this. A week ago, this subject, I was like, I'm not really that dialed in on clinch day because they're going to get in. It's just a matter of what seed they're going to be in. So I wasn't that worried about it. And I don't know that I've ever been more wrong about how I'd feel, let alone how fans felt, because as it got closer, I was like, yesterday I was just, come on, end the drought now. I'm thinking about the Bills ending the drought in 2017 the way they did and everything. This will be therapeutic and cathartic. And it was kind of a letdown. They have to work, I would think, Joe, pretty hard to match the desperation of some of these teams they're playing. Tage Thompson sort of said the quiet part out loud last week, right? After a loss, we've worked hard to get ourselves in a good spot or something to that effect, which basically says, we might coast a little, which I think is forgivable. I don't know. What's your read of where they are in these teams they're playing? And they'll see another one tomorrow that's barely alive, but they are still alive. So maybe you get Washington's best punch 2 nights after getting Ottawa's best punch.
Yeah, I hope that I think they were prepared for things to be that way because, when you've got a schedule like they do and, how weird things are in the East and in the West, because, they had to kind of deal with that with Seattle as well, where the playoff races for those teams are, it's life or death, whereas Buffalo, it's just kind of like, all right, we're pretty much in. Let's just let's just get this. We're in, but it's just a matter of where we're going to be. We'd like to be winning the division, but we're in. Let's just not do anything too stupid and reckless and get hurt. But a team like Ottawa, who's had so much drama going on around the last couple of days, because the Kachucks go on their podcast and the old man says a few things that kind of rankles everybody, and they've got injuries out the wazoo on the blue line, and they lost another guy in the game last night. And after the game, everybody was just like, we had them down to 5, and they're already without 3 of their best guys as it was. We got to take advantage of that, and we just didn't. And but that was a matter of their forwards, who are all pretty much healthy, said, we know our defense is a weakness. Let's pressure the garbage out of the Sabres and see how they handle it, and they didn't handle it very well.
Yeah, the D being weakened like that I thought would be a big key for the Sabres in that game, and it really did not come to fruition. I want to take a try at the Kachuk brother and dad podcast thing because I did not know. I saw a reference yesterday to how Ottawa media, and maybe I don't know if you were even up there for the game day skate, Joe, that the media requested Brady Kachuk and Olmark, and neither was made available. And I wasn't exactly sure why that was as big a deal as it is, but it turns out that the Kachuk brothers have a podcast, because of course they do, and their dad, Keith Kachuk, was on it, and they were just talking about how, load management, basically. I think, I don't know if those words were said, but that was what they were talking about. And Keith Kachuk, who played, 30 years ago, starts riffing on guys can't play back to backs, and the guy I got a hangnail, I can't play. I can't play back to back. Grant Fuhr played 76 games one year or something, and I think it was. Am I doing okay so far? It was taken as Brady Kachuk being present for someone making light of Linus Ullmark's mental health break, I think is how it came off. And I mean, I can say I don't think it's a real big leap to make. Not that Brady said anything, nor did really Matthew, but their dad is sitting there just calling guys soft, and maybe not the best look. How'd I do? Did I hit all the key points?
I think those were all the appropriate points and the leaps made, and a lot. I mean, Keith saying that sounds a lot like your uncle from Lackawanna kind of lamenting about how why don't guys fight 5 times a game anymore? That kind of thing, where it's they don't play like they used to. And it's well, no, they don't, because things are different. And even if Linus didn't have have to take a break for mental health needs, he's still not going to play 70 games a year. He's not going to play 60 games a year. Nobody does that. There's only a handful of guys that are even approaching 60 games this year, and they kind of have to in those situations because they don't have a lot of help, or they're just that good, and the backups are not that good either. So, it's one of those things where the drama's been so much this year with that team, and this goes back to some of the internet nonsense that came up a few months ago, and
also related to Ullmark. Right.
Right. And it dials in on the same guys, and I think if this team was firmly in a playoff spot, maybe this isn't stuff that's talked about, because maybe that podcast is a little happier, but this is just kind of an airing of grievances. And Brady's just sitting there in the middle of a conversation with his brother and his dad, and they're just speaking their piece and saying their thing, and he's just kind of hey guys, I'm right here. Leave me out of this. And that's kind of spiraled into a thing where people are well, Brady wants out, but I don't think that's necessarily the case at all. But I mean, if it ends up turning out that way, I can imagine there's 31 teams that would be very happy to add Brady Kachuk to their team.
Yeah. I have been saying for weeks here that this Ottawa team is a team I'd like to keep out of the playoffs if I could. And the Sabres obviously did not do their part last night, because I think I have this right. I'm not sure if the graphic was shown on the local broadcast here last night or not, but as of with 3-4 games ago, what I knew about Ottawa was they were leading the league in shots on goal against at 24 a game, and were also buck naked last in save percentage, which is a very bad combination. But it is indicative that they can shut you down. They can dominate play, and they really did that last night, Ottawa. That's a good team.
Yeah, no, and they've got enough guys that can grind, and they can play nasty, they can do all these things. And think about how they played last night. That's without Jake Sanderson. That's without Thomas Chabot. That's
and the kid, the Yarmul, the other young defenseman too.
Yes. Yakemchuk.
Yakemchuk, thank you.
Who they just called him up, and he was playing very well. And if you're struggling against a team that doesn't have those guys, and Jordan Spence played 30 minutes. I think Jordan Spence is a pretty good defenseman, but I don't think you want him playing 30 minutes a night either. But it's that was a game where it's such a cliche, but it's like Ottawa wanted it way more, and they had enough motivation. They got their tails kicked in by Florida. They gave up 5 goals in the first period against them, a couple days before, and then all this stuff pops up, and it's like, well, if they get knocked around and lose to Buffalo tonight, season's probably over because this is only going to melt down worse. Instead, it's just like one of those I think it's a bonding game for them, and now they're in a way better spot to be able to secure themselves for the postseason. I mean, nothing's secure right now, obviously.
But they're in a spot. Yeah, I mean, right now they're
in a spot, and they're feeling better about themselves, and this is the kind of thing that can kind of bring everybody together, and that's dangerous. If you're a division leader, if you're Tampa or you're Buffalo or Montreal or Carolina, you're sitting there looking at Ottawa going can they just lose a couple more games? That would be really nice.
Joe, yesterday or earlier in the show, Bulldog and I were kind of talking about how, especially now with the lines maybe getting shuffled up a little bit, which I think is definitely a much needed sign from the last couple of games. But this feels like more of a couple game sample size from this team. And there are probably reasons why we were talking about not being able to manufacture, desperation, which, I mean, you definitely can. And the Sabres are in a good position because they've largely played desperate for a couple of months after being in last place. And that is sort of, you can't manufacture that. But, I'm thinking last night and about their fourth line and about not having Carrick in the lineup and sort of at times that fourth line, especially when they start slow, that fourth line can kind of drag the dead body of the other 3 lines together when things aren't maybe going smoothly. How much do you suspect they did miss Carrick last night in the lineup on that fourth line? And how much do you think they maybe will miss him moving forward? And this is the thing that I hate most about hockey is just the vagueness of these injuries and not really knowing exactly what is wrong with Carrick. But I guess it was a good sign that Lindy didn't completely rule him out for the playoffs. But he has been really since day one, since he's entered the lineup, one of their most consistently. There's just not a lot of guys that play his game in this lineup.
He does the job he does very well, is what he does.
Right. Yeah, he understands the assignment. He's veteran enough to know what he's good at, what he does, and how to get it done. And he knows what he's out there to do, and that helps his line mates because they're like, okay, Carrick's, they call him Ricky. Ricky's got the lead. He's going to win a draw, and then we're going to get the puck down to the other end of the ice. And if they get it back, well, they're not going to have it very long because we're going to smother them in their own end of the ice, and then we'll see what happens. It's a little bit different when it's, if it's Dunn or if it's Kozak or Pearson's on that line or whatever, however you want to do it. Because, Carrick makes the possession happen because of the faceoffs, but he also understands getting in on that forecheck and getting in on top of everybody makes it miserable. And he's just such a guy that knows the routine and knows what, knows how to do things. Not to say that Kozak doesn't or Dunn doesn't, but Carrick's got the years and he's got the experience. So that makes that a little bit better for them. But, it's would his presence have helped last night? Yeah, maybe. I think of the go-ahead goal there where maybe, Carrick wins that draw a little cleaner. They get possession and they get out instead. It ends up out up top. Zub takes the shot and Eller gets the tip. But I'm not going to say losing Sam Carrick is a crucial blow. It hurts because he's so good on draws and this team is not good on draws. But I mean, it's very specialized use. But you're right. The fourth line helps make a lot of things go. And listen, Greenway's just getting his feet under him. I think he's looked good. He's looked a lot quicker. He looks, he's happy. He's
healthier.
He's ready to go.
Yes,
he
looks healthier.
Finally.
Yeah.
For the first time in a year and a half, 2 years, he's healthy. So that's great to see. And, Malenstein's been great all season long. So I'm not sweating that line at all right now. But, the other lines could have used some juice last night. It could have, maybe a little bit more of a shuffle. But I totally get Lindy not wanting to, totally messed things around last night because you're like, well, you guys got to do this. Like this is what our lineup is. It's up to you guys to go get it done, and then he just didn't last night.
Yeah, not that Greenway and Carrick are asked to do the same job. They're playing at the same level of the lineup on the fourth line, but I feel like Greenway being back buffers the loss of Carrick at least a little. It's a veteran guy. It's a penalty killer. It's my son and I both view Greenway the same way, which is if your team is floundering like the Sabres have been, and this is not a guy that's going to produce a lot, you're kind of like, why is he here? What does he do exactly? But when the last time they were in any kind of a race a few years ago, I would notice him all the time in games. Like when the games matter, your team is good, and you've got a guy that plays the role he plays. Like he's on the right side of a lot of battles, right?
It was a hell of a shift without a stick yesterday.
He's a sound player. So I think I'll miss Carrick too. What's funny about Carrick is how much of a void it feels like he leaves. And going into the deadline, I don't know what this is to really say, but like I wasn't like sitting here going, oh, I need to get a fourth line center. And then they made the move like, oh, okay, I get it. And then he gets on the ice. It's like, wow, this fits perfectly. I guess they really needed that or can use that. But I hope that Kozak and, your name here, Dunn last night, they can get by. But, Carrick, that really did settle in nicely. But what are you going to do? Joe Yerdon, noted hockey and Bleacher Report contributor on the West Her hotline with us here on WGR. So let me ask you this. I asked Paul this on pregame yesterday because, we were close to, the clinch happening. And, we talked to Paul, 3-4 times a week sometimes, and often don't ask the big questions. And so I tried this on him yesterday. I want to try it on you, Joe. How, when people come up to you and they know what you do for a living, do you answer when they ask you, how did the Sabres do this?
Even amongst other writers, we're getting asked that question. A couple of the folks in the auto would be, we're just like, how did this happen? Like, what did this go? And my first joking answer is like, I'm still trying to figure that out. But mostly this is, I view this as like the power of positive thinking and positive experience for this group because, the main guys here, Darlene and Thompson and, even Tuck and even some of these younger guys, like, Krebs has been around for years. Yeah. Quinn, all these guys have had so much losing, way more losing than winning. And even, the playoff race a couple of years ago, that was such a roller coaster year that it was like, okay, we're doing great. And then, we just lost 6 in a row. Well, we're toast. And then it's like, won 5 in a row. We're back. That can wear you out so quickly. And this was the first time where everything was like either breaking their way or they were doing the right things. And they were getting the positive results from that, and getting that kind of success and those kinds of things happening makes you believe, and part of that is what Lindy's doing with the systems and the teachings and all that. Like he's a big part of that because he helps make that happen, because the coach can tell you like how to do everything in the systems and everything. But if you don't win games, it's very easy to be like, this ain't it. And you start, you stop believing, stop paying attention, just say like, well, what this guy's doing, I don't buy into it. Let me just do what I need to do. And we've seen that plenty over the years, with coaches where it's just like the message stops ringing a bell and they're just like, all right, well, this is toast. Let's forget it. You win game. I mean, it's almost so easy to just be like, well, you win games and of course it works. But to have this kind of extended stretch of success, and to have, to be able to constantly bounce back in games and to do that kind of thing, it's confidence, it's the experience of winning. It's all these things coming together as one. And then you understand like, yes, this is what it is. This is how it goes. And this is what it takes to do these things. And then you just do it. And, it seems easy. And like, you can kind of see and hear the annoyance in Zucker's voice after the game last night, talking about, what went wrong, what they didn't do right, and talking about the desperation of what Ottawa had, because they finally got some of their own medicine dealt back at them. A team that's desperate, that wants to prove themselves, that wants to win. And it's just like, other teams can do this. Ooh, this is kind of tough. And, it's one of these things where you're just like, all right, man, like, this kind of stinks to be on the other end of it. but we'll figure it out and we'll go from there. And now it's just, you kind of got like this whole thing where you're thinking about how we've got to get the playoffs done, we got to get this taken care of, one thing at a time. Just win one more game and you're good, and then you can focus on trying to get over Tampa, take care of Tampa, get to first place, and maybe have a slightly easier matchup. But how this happens is just buying in and believing and having each other's back. Honestly, it's weird how these things take place, and that supporting each other and just having each other's back. I know the big thing was Darlene saying you drink beers together. Yeah, camaraderie, it's a big deal. Chemistry is a big deal, but winning does it all. That's the most basic thing.
I assumed when Bulldog was going to ask about the big important question, he was going to ask about Zach Metza. I won't. But the lineup, I was with Chris Baker, I don't know, maybe last weekend. We were at a bar drinking, shocker. And we were talking about the lineup. And over the next couple of weeks, they're, I think, luxury, but maybe looking at it from this perspective, it might not be a luxury of being able to toy with some things as you enter the playoffs and what your game one lineup looks like. And I think it's easy right now to look at that last pair to say, well, that's maybe the one that's most in the air. But I think the injury to Östlund, we were talking about this too a little earlier, they feels like they miss him in the lineup without him right now, with his injury. With him healthy, and I don't know, maybe you want to presume that Carrick will be ready for a game one, but I'm actually thinking less about that last pair now because it seems like they're settling into Metza and Stanley as that third pair defensively. But what about Greenway right now? And are you maybe leaning towards having, and again, maybe this is more so who they play in the first round and maybe less about the veteran presence, but I do wonder if Lindy will prefer to have a Greenway in the lineup, even if Noah Östlund, is healthy in a game one scenario.
I think with the way this breaks down now with Carrick being injured, and I don't think there's a shot at all he's ready for the start of the playoffs. I really don't. I know Lindy tells us week to week, and I'm like, you look at what, you don't know what the injury was. You can certainly spitball some ideas of what it was.
Looked like a dislocated elbow to me. That's my guess.
Elbow, shoulder, or whatever. Maybe who knows? But either way, it's gnarly. It'll take a little bit for it to come back. And if it's an elbow, I mean, I've dislocated my shoulder a bunch in my life, and if it's the elbow makes me want to gag. That's just awful. But
3 to 6 weeks is a timeline on an elbow. I don't know that I'm right. I mean, I Zapruder filmed the fight because I'm a sicko, and there's a point where his arm looks like it's bent the wrong way, right at the elbow, and I don't know for sure either, obviously.
Right. But I look at a Carrick absence and that's tough, and it's not what you want. But Greenway's return, I think, makes it so that if Östlund's good to go and he's day to day, so we'll see what's up there. I mean, whatever that hit he took was in the Boston game, is enough to keep him out of action, but it's not serious. So whatever. If he's good to go, I think he's the guy who gets back in the lineup, and then you kind of play with your forwards and figure out what you do from there. I know the draws are really important. It's really important, and I think you need your top three group top 3-4 guys to be better at doing that. The specialized situations have to, PK, PP. You gotta win the puck. But I think if Östlund's good to go for the playoffs, and I think a lot of and taking their time with him is hey, listen, we need you for postseason, so let's just make sure you're good. But Greenway makes it easier to slot him back in, to slot Östlund back in with ease, and then you figure out who goes where. Maybe Krebs goes and centers that line. Yeah. He's been so good on that first line. I get it, but he's their utility knife. He's their guy that does whatever they need him to do, and he's happy to do it. Again, he's been great with Thompson and Tuck, but if he's your fourth line center, don't you feel a lot better about that being without Carrick? And then if Östlund's back in the lineup and you've got him and him and Benson and Doan together was the line, I think, for a little bit. Or, maybe you put Benson with Thompson and Tuck, or, the lines they had set up today. I think you can kind of monkey around with those and get Östlund into a spot there and make it work a little smoother. I think it's nice to have this kind of flexibility. And, I think with Östlund's injury being a little less serious, Carrick's being a fair bit more serious, these are easily movable pieces for the lineup to figure out what you need to do playoff-wise. And, yeah, the matchup will depend very heavily on it because some team, like an Osland against Tampa, like he more than held his own against Tampa. But, like, maybe you need to get a little bit more roughneck with those guys because you know how they are. Montreal is also tough, but they're also speedy and quick.
Yeah.
So maybe Austin's a better mix there. If it's Boston or Ottawa or Philly or like whoever breaks down,
yeah.
I think you can figure out a little easier from there.
Yeah, I don't think there's any question. In my view, there's no question Ausland, the second he's cleared to go back in, he goes back in, and you just have to figure
100%.
out what you're doing with whoever else, whether that's Krebs, Kozak, whatever. Ausland. I think they've really sneakily missed him for a couple games here without him being there. He's become one of their, I think, most important forwards. Lindy seems to trust him in any situation. That says a lot, I think, right there. All right, Joe. Any parting thought here about Monday? Like, do you think? These things often go one of two ways. You either get the hand-to-hand combat that we got a couple of weeks ago, or everyone's on alert and the league calls both teams to warn them that they're going to be watching closely and nothing happens. I don't know. I kind of feel like Tampa might still want to try to make the same point they tried to make a couple of weeks ago.
I think there's bound to be some of that hangover, but I do wonder if maybe Bill Daly or Gary Bettman decides to take a Monday trip to Buffalo. Maybe they're curious about Dingus Day, heard everything, like what that's about, and they're like, "Hey, we heard this is going on. Oh, there's a game? Huh, that's funny. Let's go watch a game." I think you're going to get a far more serious game because what happened in that last game, I think, is one of those. Halley's Comet.
That was insane. Yeah, right.
Aberrations. Like that is a once in a lifetime kind of thing. Now, it's not to say, I know everybody's so eager for a new Red Wings Avalanche rivalry to pop up in the NHL. And like it's been like 30 years. Like we haven't seen that happen in a long time, and I don't think that we're quite there yet. We need a playoff series or two between them to help make that happen, and maybe we get that this year, but. This game's a fair bit more serious for both teams because, against each other, because I think the winner has the driver's seat to winning the division. I think that's kind of obvious. But also you've got Montreal hot on your heels. You've got to keep them away because you don't want to cede home ice in the first round to them, whether it's in the number 2 spot or them winning the division. So both teams want to win that. Maybe you got some scores to settle. I don't know, man. You had so much stuff happen in that first game that what are the scores? What do you like?
Hagel for what he did to Dahlin, I think is the thing. But like, how do you even do that? Like, Hagel doesn't fight Logan Stanley. Like that would be absurd, right? So I don't know how you approach that. And we just saw a score get settled, and the Sabres lost an important piece for multiple weeks here in Carrick going after Lee like he did on Tuesday night. Anyway,
and like if Hagel even plays,
Hagel, he's been out
dealing with a thing. So it's Sabrin. Sabrin's the guy that you'd send after Stanley if you're Tampa. But Sabrin's banged up, and I'm pretty sure those injury updates were made clear, knowing that Buffalo's coming on Monday.
Right.
So maybe that's a call off the dogs kind of thing, where it's
maybe
these two guys that you'd probably be dealing with the most aren't going to be there. So just let's chill out and let's get to the playoffs, and maybe we can settle the score then.
All right, Joe. Thanks for the time. Safe travels all the way home here, and we'll look forward to bumping into you down the road, man.
Absolutely. Sounds great, guys. Thanks for having me.
That is Joe Yerdon, noted hockey Bleacher Report contributor on the Sabre Beat, was in Ottawa last night for the Sabres, not coming through with a chance to clinch
it was
their
kind
spot
of,
in the playoffs.
We spent a lot of show yesterday, all of it, and then they were like,
let's do some more of that because they play again tomorrow. 803-0550 is the number. Nate Geary in for Mike. I'm the Bulldog. This is WGR.
No game tonight for the Sabres. They'll be right back at it, though, tomorrow night on the road versus Washington, where, again, if they win, they will clinch a spot in the playoffs. For more, though, on yesterday's loss to Ottawa, Paul Hamilton has a piece up at our website, WGR550.com. It's a very light night around the rest of the NHL. Just 2 games tonight at 7. It'll get underway with the Islanders hosting the Flyers. And then at 10, the Ducks, they have the St. Louis Blues in town. We do have some NFL news. The Jaguars are signing edge rusher Trayvon Walker to a 4-year, $100 million extension. $77 million of that is guaranteed, and $50 million of that is fully guaranteed at signing. Walker has had 27.5 sacks through his 4-year career. And then to the Diamond, we've had some early afternoon baseball. The Yankees already wrapped up their game against the Marlins as New York does take down Miami 8-2. Toronto is currently deadlocked with the White Sox 3-3. That game in the 9th. And the Mets, they are coming up much later on today. They will get going at 10:15. They are out in San Francisco against the Giants. While the Miners, Bisons, they are at Omaha. That game will get going at 7:30. It's Paddock Chevrolet Sports Headlines. Paddock Chevrolet with you for the extra mile since 1935. I'm Zach Jones for Western New York's Voice of the Fan, WGR.
I don't think we really helped ourselves. Weren't really skating, attacking as a unit. When you're not getting pucks in deep, it's pretty easy for other teams' demons to stand up on you. Credit to them, but I think we kind of did it to ourselves. Energy was super high. Obviously, we know the stakes with a win. Yeah, disappointing for sure, but obviously not the end of the road for us where we're standing. Just have to get back to work and put on a better performance in 2 days.
Defenseman Matthias Samuelsson, the lone goal scorer for the Sabres last night in a 4-1 loss in Ottawa. I did Jeremy, old friend of mine, Jessica, she's not old. We're old friends.
Nice.
Anyway, sorry, Jess. Owen, Sneaky Joe, like we had a crew out at More Room last night, and my friend Chris, just a bunch of people around. And we're all in like one area of the bar, and I say to Jer, literally like 2 minutes before Samuelson's, maybe the shift before he scores, I'm like, it's been a while for him, huh? And then he scores, and Jer's like, oh, yeah, like, all right, who's next? I'm like, I will use my powers judiciously.
Smart.
I'm not just, I'll wait for the moment, and the moment never came. I never said another guy, really. But anyway.
So we can blame you is what you're saying.
Sure, I mean, if you want. You want to try the last, not the Zach Metza question. The question I asked Joe that I alluded to that I felt like when people, they know you work here, even though you're part-time and have a real job. How are they doing this? How did they, what happened? How did this team, personnel, changed a little at the deadline with Carrick showing up and Logan Stanley and Luke Shen.
It's long before that.
And Tanner Pearson, by the way.
Right.
Right.
When he said Pearson, I was like, oh, yeah.
Last Friday, I said this the other day. I don't know if you were here. Last Friday, the Red Wing game starts, and I see 70 in a Sabre uniform. And I'm like, who's 70? Oh yeah, Tanner Pearson's on the team, and it's not like he's played 800 games in the league. He's a player. Anyway, how do you think, like when someone recognizes you at dashes, say, and says like, Nate, how did they do this? Like, what is do you have an answer at the ready?
Yeah, I mean, I know it's just so easy to point to Kevin Adams' presence. Because I do think that there was a sense of, and I'm not pretending like I'm some sort of, NHL insider and know all the inner workings of the franchise and know that, everyone hated him so much that it's the Wicked Witch is dead. Yeah. And now we can, but there has to be some level of, the winning streak started 3 games, not exactly a big enough sample size. I think that there was probably a real sense of no BS from Jarmo and feeling like, yo, man, we better sharpen our swords. But sorry, I'm really sorry about that.
What a hack!
I know. I'm sorry about that. Oh God, we go to break now. But I do think that, and I even think Tage mentioned this when getting asked about this during the Olympics, was like, Jarmo kind of came in and it was a different, it was a professional vibe, I think was maybe the way that it was stated. But I do think that there was more of, I'll trade any of you guys. Not all of you are expendable.
Yeah.
And obviously there's a few that aren't. But I do get the sense that there was a different level of urgency that Jarmo immediately brought. And I even think, and I wonder too how much, Terry Pegula bringing in Jarmo when he did and having Jarmo sort of his presence being there was even the same thing for Kevin, which was, this guy will take your job, and he's done it before. And I do think, though, with Jarmo, that it was the right guy for this franchise at the right time, knowing the previous franchise that he had helped, make relevant and the moves that he had made in Columbus. And, I don't know. A lot of it I do think is just whenever you're in a workplace and you have a boss who's not maybe held to the standard he himself is holding you to, that there is a sense of, okay, well,
what are you going to do about it?
Right. I mean, you're not, it's happening under you, and there's not a standard for you, so why the hell is there a standard for us?
Right.
And when that move was finally made, and I think the personality and the professionalism of Jarmo comes in, I do think that there is that flip of a switch for them. I also maybe just want to acknowledge that this has happened in not just the NHL, but in other sports where sometimes it can take a year for a system or a year and some change for a system to really click. And I do think this was the right system for the right team and the right players that Lindy brought in. And I give a lot of credit for Lindy coming in and being malleable and not saying, hey, this is what we're going to be.
Right.
And I think them putting together a unique way, that a system that runs through the actual strength of what Kevin Adams has put together as a team.
Yep.
I also, there's part of me too, man, where it's like just about every trade, maybe besides the Cousins and Norris thing, but the Doan thing was such a shot in the arm for this franchise. Just a real difference maker for them.
Yeah, he has been a very
difference
impactful
maker.
player.
Yeah,
Yes.
and some of the attitude that I think he brought, I think Zucker's been here, so I'm not going to tell you that it's Zucker, but like having someone like him and then having some of the emotional impact of what had been going on with Dahlin, and then him coming back when I think a lot of people, myself included, were like, he's going to miss a month. And he should miss a month. And him missing like a week and then coming back, I think was a real galvanizing force for the team. So it was a lot, but it's because I don't think you could point to one particular thing.
Yeah. No, I stumbled into this when I asked Paul this yesterday on pregame. I realized as he was talking about it and the difference between Adams, their styles, Adams and Kekalainen, what I sort of stumbled into was that being the GM, like there are different parts of the job. The building of the team is one part. And I think you can look at this team now and the talent largely that was assembled, again, save for the trade deadline, and those are really just complementary pieces, even as much as we're going to miss Carrick. The build of the team is one thing. Building a team is a thing, and then running the team is a different thing. And
totally
requires a touch, and maybe there's just a little too friendly a relationship with Adams and the guys. I have never ever got the sense one time that people there didn't like him.
Sure.
So I wouldn't view it that way. I just think, you said it. Like, what's the standard, and why are you not being held? Not being held accountable for any of this? And I think when that changed, and Kekalainen just walked in the room and just said, like, you're better than this. They just sort of went, you're
right.
You're probably right.
Yep.
Right? Because it is, I think so. Adams' departure to me can't be overstated. I think I don't think any of this happens without it. But I think, could they have found a way to play for one another and play desperate? Because really, that's what playing the kind of defense they play as a team now is all about.
Yeah.
It's just being willing to go the extra, not want to let your teammate down. So everyone's gonna do the same job the same way, and any team can do that at any time they want. It's hard, night after night after night to do that. And, the cracks start coming when this guy isn't and this guy isn't consistent and everything just sort of. But once everyone sort of went with, I would point to Doan for sure. Because he showed up as a guy with the rep of,
and even when they weren't winning.
Johnny try hard, like he was going to be there.
When they weren't winning, he was still that guy.
That's right.
Frankly, he probably wasn't beaten down with the.
Well, that's right, too.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot there, obviously, to chew on. 803-0550 is the number. Nate Geary in for Mike. I am the Bulldog. You're listening to WGR. Hanging out here on a Friday, Good Friday at that. Hope you're all ready for big Easter weekend doings. I plan to heartily enjoy hosting brunch on Sunday. We got my wife and youngest son, Leo. I'm not sure if it's going to be tonight or tomorrow, but at some point in the next 36 hours, they will be making homemade pierogi, which I'm very excited about.
Boy.
The one thing, I'm sure there's other things, but one thing that prominently comes to mind, thinking of my mother and her relationship with my wife, is that she had a seminar with my sisters and my wife probably, 15 years ago. And here's how we do it. And so my wife and Leo have taken that on, and that's awesome. I got my sausage taken care of today, and tomorrow morning, bright and early, I will be at the Broadway Market collecting sweets.
I do miss my Polish grandparents. Both passed away. Well, one was Irish, one was Italian, one was Polish. But it was a Polish household for Easter. And my grandmother, being the 100% Italian she was still
leaned into it.
Oh yeah. And my grandfather, but that's why it was funny, because my grandmother made the Polish dishes, and my grandfather, the Polish grandfather, made the Italian dishes, which is funny. My grandfather would, the scenes at that home as a child, with the, in the old school house, it had the dining room where, everything would be in the kitchen, and then the dining room table where everyone would just be yelling at each other. The Easter spread, although it was sort of to me, Thanksgiving's always the eating holiday, but Easter was very close behind in terms of eating holiday. And I think I told you last time I was here, I miss lasagna. That's my grandfather made lasagna, and I miss it. And is there going to be a lasagna appearance for Easter for you? Or
there
no?
will not. Okay. No. My wife makes lasagna for Christmas.
Yes. Okay.
That is our Christmas thing.
See, that's the thing with my grandparents, is that it would just be so much over the top food that it'd be, the lasagna, the stuffed cabbage, the pierogi, and just the fresh. Three kinds of sausage.
I believe the stuffed cabbage is known as gumpki.
Gumpki.
Thank you.
Yep.
Okay.
Yes, that's right.
Yep.
And I also miss that too. I miss that quite a bit.
Yeah.
And then stuffed green peppers, stuffed banana peppers.
Wow, I like the sound of all of this.
I haven't eaten in 2 days. Could you tell? Oh, God.
All right, well, ready to rock. I hope everyone out there is likewise. I just got a very interesting question via text that I have to ask you about off the air.
Okay.
Regarding a certain place that I know you like and I certainly enjoy, and I've got someone who's never been there asking me what to get. So
I'm the guy.
There's going to be sidebar off the air. I don't want to. I shouldn't bring it up on. Anyway.
Here we are.
Where are we? It's almost 5 o'clock.
Brian
Koziel coming up on the Sabres, and we'll probably squeeze a little Masters talk.
Good chance of that.
But Brian, of course, T to Green, and our Sabres pre- and post-game host, Paul, is available, but he's traveling, and I just didn't want to, put it on Paul. So Brian was available and raised his hand. So we've got that on the way after this on WGR.
No Sabres game tonight, though they'll be right back at it tomorrow afternoon on the road versus Washington, where, again, if they win, they will clinch a playoff spot. For more, though, on yesterday's loss to Ottawa, Paul Hamilton does have a piece up at our website, WGR550.com. Around the rest of the league, though, it is a very light night tonight, just 2 games. At 7, the Islanders host the Flyers, and at 10, the Ducks have the St. Louis Blues in town. And we do have some news in the NFL. First, the Jaguars signing edge rusher Trayvon Walker to a 4-year, $100 million extension. $77 million of that is guaranteed, and $50 million of that is fully guaranteed at signing. And then this coming down here in just the last few minutes, the NFL has concluded today that Chiefs wide receiver Rashee Rice, quote, has not engaged in conduct that violates the personal conduct policy, that the investigation into the accusations from his former girlfriend is now closed, and there will be no discipline at this time. And then to the diamond, we do have some early afternoon action. The Yankees took down the Marlins 8-2, while Toronto, they currently have a 4-3 lead in the 10th inning. The White Sox will be up to bat next. That's Paddock Chevrolet Sports Headlines. Paddock Chevrolet with you for the extra mile since 1935. I'm Zach Jones for WGR Sports Radio 550.
It's Mike Schopp and the Bulldog.
Happy, the ball itself has its own energy, or life force, if you will. Its natural environment is in the home. So why don't you send them home?
It's Mike Schopp.
Why didn't you just go home? That's your home. Are you too good for your home? Answer me!
And the Bulldog.
That Happy Gilmore, he's a real crack-up, isn't he? I mean, he's a hoot. You know, what was great today, one of his fans mooned me and had Happy written on his ass. Ha on the one cheek, and then, sure enough, PPY right there on the other.
It's Mike Schopp and the Bulldog.
Happy learned how to putt. Uh-oh.
On WGR, Sports Radio 550.
Rolling along here on a Friday, the Friday before Easter, Good Friday. Hope everyone is prepped and ready for, whatever. You get the kids, you got to hide eggs, hide Easter baskets, all that stuff. Mostly all I got to do is cook some kielbasa and eat. Although I got to prepare a meal for a bunch of people, but my sisters are helping, so it won't be that heavy a lift. Joining us now on the West Her Hotline is Tita Green, co-host, and host of our pre- and post-game coverage on the Sabres Radio Network. Brian Koziel here with Nate Geary, who's in for Mike. I'm the Bulldog. Brian, good afternoon. Happy Easter weekend to you and your family.
Thank you. Same as well. It feels good to have 75 degrees out for this weekend.
I know. I had, before Mike asked to take off the last 2 days early in the week, I was thinking about taking today off and doing all my Broadway market stuff. And looking out the window and knowing how nice it is outside, I'm really wishing I had, because it's got to be a scene over there today, man.
Like, I could go without the wind, though. I could go without the wind.
This is awesome. Well, anyway, it wasn't so awesome last night. Brian, I mean, just disappointing. I don't want to say necessarily deflating. I mean, they've got a lot of runway here, so it's not like I'm shook or anything. But it was kind of a bummer to see them not be able to come through there against a very good Ottawa team, and certainly a very desperate Ottawa team.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think because of the fact that they haven't made the playoffs in so long, the fact that it was within their grasp, in their control last night. I mean, I think everybody just wanted to get the stamp on the situation here, and like, okay, we've got this here. I know, obviously, the percentages would say that they still have it. They're still fine. They can still do it tomorrow night. It should be maybe just as exciting, but for one night, you felt like, oh man, you could finally end this drought here. Had they been a playoff participant regularly over the course of the last 14 years, I think maybe the disappointment level wouldn't have been as high. But understandably so. I mean, they still didn't play that great through 40 minutes, and they still had a tie game. And I think we've seen that at least more so recently than earlier in this historical run that they've had here, where they've played just what you'd say is okay, nothing erroneous, nothing to really get upset about, but also it's not their A game, and all of a sudden you just go to the third, and this is what I was talking with Paul during the intermission last night. I'm like, here we are again, where they've played fine. Their goalie has been really good to the point that he's giving their team a chance to win, and that's what they had last night in the third. But Ottawa definitely, I thought, was the more desperate team in the third. Lindy Ruff said they lost a ton of battles in that period, that he would have liked to have come away with the puck where they didn't. And even though Luukkonen gave them another great opportunity in the third, stopping a breakaway, stopping a couple odd man rushes, ultimately they couldn't score, and that's why we're talking about the delay here of the eventual clinch spot that's hopefully upcoming for them.
Right. And it looks like Lyon, at least according to practice today in Washington, because the Sabres traveled to Washington. Paul will be making his way to Washington, I presume, to be with you tomorrow evening on pre and then during the game and post. But the lines have shuffled, but Lyon had his own net, which isn't, I don't think that means the rotation is back. I think Luukkonen just played 3 in a row, and I think it's time for Lyon to play is kind of how I would view that.
Yeah, and I think it sets up well, too, because if there's any game left on the schedule here that Buffalo has left that you would say has the most impact on where they're going to finish in the Atlantic, and, I think everybody's still goal is to win the Atlantic. It's Monday's game against Tampa, and this also lines up for you to go back to a rested Luukkonen on Monday. So right. I like this rotation. After Luukkonen had played so well earlier in the week, I thought, hey, you know what? If they want to play Luukkonen Thursday again, they can ride him, and then that sets up Lyon to come back in Saturday. You don't want to have him sit too long, and then bring back Luukkonen on Monday against Tampa in that game. So I think the rotation or whatever Lindy is calling it at this moment, I think it's fine.
Right.
Yeah, I think it's fine, and it sets up to have the goalie that is playing better at this moment on Monday for the game that has the most impact on the standings.
And not for nothing too, Brian. Yesterday I thought Luukkonen had a terrific game yesterday. Just some big saves and big moments. That breakaway I thought kept them in that game in the third. He has been playing great, and I know the score ends up being 4-1 yesterday, but I thought he'd been great all game yesterday.
Yeah, for sure. One thing that we've seen during this great stretch is that it seems like there's always that early big save that for years the Sabres never got. And Lyon and Luukkonen were doing it all throughout the stretch. But, yesterday, Metsa got hit in the face, and he kind of reached up and grabbed it. This was, maybe 2 minutes in, and it led to a 2-on-1, and Luukkonen came up with a big save there that obviously kept this game scoreless at that point. And then in the third, Stanley misplayed the puck right around the red line, and it led to a breakaway by Giroux, and he makes the save there. Those are two key moments in the game where I thought, okay, if Ottawa's going to get the crowd going, get their excitement about them being this is such an important game for them in the standings, they didn't get that early goal. And then when it's 2-1 and you can't give one up, that's when Luukkonen comes up with that big save on Giroux. So, yeah, I would agree with you, Nate. I thought he played great, and I thought Ullmark played great too. I thought Ullmark was excellent. So both goalies to me were worthy of the win yesterday.
Yeah, it's a weird game in that I think Ottawa deserved a 4-1 win the way they played, but it also it's two empty netters. It sort of makes the score look more crooked than the game really, was. It really just doesn't shine a light on how well Luukkonen played if you just look at the score. But it's two empty netters, so, you only give up the two. Brian Koziel on the West Hair Hotline with us, pouring over last night's Sabres loss in Ottawa. We'll look ahead to Washington. Brian already mentioned the big showdown with Tampa coming on Monday. Brian, speaking of Luukkonen and the goalies and the way Lindy's handled them with the taking turns with Lyon and Luukkonen whenever both guys have been healthy, it was easy to kind of overlook. I was really grateful that Paul did the work to get Luukkonen's numbers just since the winning streak back in early December, because we've been waiting, I think, since Luukkonen had that great second half of the season. Was it 3 seasons ago now? I can't remember. It was the year before he got the contract, where, he was just like, boy, if we get that guy, and he got paid off that half season. He pretty much has done that again, but it was easy to miss because he was taking turns with Lyon. But to be leading the league in save percentage since December is, that is not a small sample.
No, it is not, and I think you're right, because we were even focused on Lyon and he had 11 straight road victories. He was going for the road record, and he had all these other things in there, and their goals against average was basically identical, and their save percentages were tight, although Luukkonen was just a hair ahead of him here at the end when Paul did those numbers. So yeah, I think probably if the playoffs were to start this weekend, I think you'd probably say, okay, Luukkonen is your guy. And I don't know if I would argue strong that you have to do this rotation that maybe 2 weeks ago we would have sat here and had a really strong debate of who would play game one and then would you flip for game two and vice versa. And I'm not saying that can't go back. There's still obviously 2 weeks of hockey left here that if if Lyon comes back and looks lights out, let's say he plays 2 or 3 more times and he looks amazing, well, then I think you could maybe still open up that discussion. But I'm also totally fine with thinking that Luukkonen is so locked in right now, even in losses like last night, that if Lindy decided, hey, he's going to be our guy until something goes haywire in the playoffs, that I feel like I'm totally fine with that.
The lines have been jumbled a little bit at practice today. We'll see. I think if we were going to be talking to Paul, he would warn us that Lindy has sometimes, it doesn't happen often, done stuff with the lines in practice, and then the next day the game, and it's back to whatever they were the previous game. But I'm trusting. I watched Lindy talk to the media this morning or this afternoon after this practice, and it sounds like he wants to go into a game moving some things around. So for folks who haven't heard yet, and I want to get Brian's thoughts on, just how significant, all of this is. They've moved some key guys around. Thompson is now centering Krebs and Doan. So basically, Doan and Tuck have swapped roles because Tuck is now with Norris and Zucker. So Zucker has moved off of that McLeod line, and now Benson is with McLeod and Quinn. And then Kozak is in the spot that Dunn had last night that had been Carrick until he got hurt. So how about the top line for starters? Doan taking Tuck's place. What do you think?
I think it's fine. I think you've got now 2 players on either side of Thompson that maybe can create a little bit more space for Thompson to and end up getting some better looks. I'm not saying that Tuck doesn't, but I think Tuck's of the mindset of I'm trying to score here, and I think as he should. But maybe Doan and Krebs can give a little bit more physicality or around the net where maybe Thompson can free himself up. One thing that when I look at that right away is I think about what Jason Zucker said last night. He said that we are not as consistent as we were weeks ago about being around that net and shooting more often. I think that was definitely a spot last night where they didn't. And Josh Norris, to me, is as guilty as anybody of maybe not shooting in opportunities that he should. Him playing with Zucker and Tuck, maybe he'll feel like he's got a little bit more of a green light to go ahead and get things going. I think Thompson, though, overall, I mean, we know when he scores, the Sabres tend to win almost every time. So however Lindy feels like it can work to make him play at his best, then I'm all for it, no matter what it maybe does to some of the other lines, because I think some of these guys here are interchangeable and they're able to handle it. I know Ostlund's, that when he was there with Norris, that line worked very well. And obviously since
I think Norris really misses him.
Yeah. I think that trio really did a nice job, and now Lindy's maybe trying to figure out how to create some magic back. I wonder ultimately, when Ostlund comes back, I would assume that probably, as if you look at today's lines, that Kozak would be the guy that comes out for him. Carrick, if he's available come playoff time, then maybe you have to have the Greenway discussion of how valuable do you feel like his penalty killing is. But I think Carrick would be in over him at that point, to be honest. I feel like he brings more to both sides than maybe Greenway would. But, the lines look a little bit different. I think you're right. Lindy ultimately could hate the first period and then change them all up again and go back to something else, because that's what he does more often than other coaches. So, but yeah, I mean, why not give it a fresh look and see if something works? I think if you have guys now on each line, it's spread out a little bit more. Like Doan can kind of be that net presence on the first line, Zucker on the second, Benson on the third. Just getting guys to maybe have that more net presence mentality. I think they've lost it over the last, I wouldn't say 3 or 4 games, to not be as high as it had been, where it felt like it was just automatic all the time there for about 2 months straight. Right.
Maybe the most notable thing here is that for the first time in a long time, Lindy did mess with the McLeod line by moving Zucker, because whatever they were always tinkering, that line had been Zucker, McLeod, Quinn, and that had been very static for, I feel like, months. And I think McLeod maybe is someone who needs a little bit of a jolt. I've not really liked his game for maybe quite a few weeks, I think I want to say.
His offense has been down, and I feel like he's also hasn't been as good defensively, too. I mean, I feel like it was that Boston overtime game that he and Tuck were kind of tough on the ice there at the end there. And he is not doing, as to take the phrase from the players, the shot mentality is not there with him either. So, I mean, he should be a guy that with his speed, I mean, he's a guy that can beat a guy one-on-one at any point and getting to the net and create a scoring chance just alone with his speed. I feel like that's been missing lately.
The other guy, too, Brian, who, I mean, really since he's gotten here, the spurts of offense, and when they're there, it's a thing of beauty. But when they're not, I don't look at Bo Byram as a guy that, like, if he's not producing offensively, then what are you doing for me in the lineup? I think he's been very good defensively in that second pair. But there is something about his game when he's playing with confidence offensively, the speed, the chance creation that he's able to make from the point.
He's a great skater.
He is such a good skater. And like last night, he has that shot right at the end of the first period, or maybe it was the second period, where, Ullmark makes a great play coming way out of the net to make that save. But like, I've been talking a lot. I think a lot of people have been talking about Josh Norris as a guy that they need more from offensively. I want to maybe say that Bo Byram's right there with him.
I think that's fair. Yeah, and his opportunity at the end of the second that you mentioned, like, that was a good one. And I guess I would credit more Ullmark on that play.
Me too.
Than anything on Byram himself. But, yeah, I think, you could even say him and Power, that there's inconsistencies all the time with their offense. When they make a play, it's usually an impressive one.
Yeah.
And you want to I think everybody just wants to see a little bit more out of both of them. And I don't know if them together, they feel like maybe they have to cover for each other a little bit more than if they were playing with someone like, Samuelson, where they have more of a green light. I almost, you want to tell them both, hey, you can both go, because the forwards have done such a better job this year of covering for each other that if you feel like you've got the opportunity to be aggressive and get involved offensively, they both have the ability to produce on the offensive side. So I don't know if that particular pairing maybe has stymied the thought of getting involved more, but when they do, it's usually a thing of beauty from both he and Power when they've been together.
Yeah, there have been shifts. There was one, I think, in the Seattle game. I can't remember which game it was now, pretty recently, where I was just begging for them to score because Power and Byram both did such a great job on the high cycle. And Power at one point was really walking the blue line, but very close to coming out of the zone, but kept it in. They must have had like almost a minute and a half, it felt like, in the zone. They had the opponent in a blender. But it was one of these, speaking of production, one of these shifts where you're like, man, what a great shift. All I got was some zone time out of it. I didn't get a goal. So that was, obviously disappointing. Third pair, Metsä. Do you think we're settled? I think he killed 2 minutes worth of penalties last night. Made a great play late in a penalty kill to squash a play up near the blue line, and then went out on an odd man rush with whoever else was out there killing that penalty. And they're like, boy, if they're waiting for a moment where they can point to and say, I can trust Metsä killing penalties, I hope that was it. Where are you at on the, days of our lives, Zach Metsä?
I can't argue against him not being on the ice all the time. He's seemingly is always making the smart play. He's in the right spot, and the numbers would back that up. And I know that they put Timmins back in when he was healthy to maybe bolster the penalty kill. It was great his first night out, and Lindy even said, hey, it looked like he hasn't even missed any time at all. The second game, not so much. And then Metz has gotten his opportunity, and he's thrived in that situation. So if you're asking me if I'm not allowed to kick Stanley out, I would say I'm taking Metsä over Timmins. Now, if you want to have the Stanley versus Timmins versus Kesselring conversation, those three for one, I feel like I could make an argument for all of them, either for or against, which maybe is what happens when you're talking about 6, 7, 8 in your rotation. But for me, Metz is a clear 5. I want him in on game one for the postseason. And then the other three, I think with Schenn a clear 8. I don't think he's in the discussion for regular playing time. I think between Stanley, Kesselring, and Timmins, if Lindy feels like Kesselring is healthy enough, I'd like to see him get a shot here for a game or two in the regular season, just to see what do we have. Now, I know that he's not 100% healthy, and maybe that's what's making the decision ultimately here, because the other guys in this back end have all gotten an opportunity to play a couple of times here to see, like, okay, what works well with Stanley, what works well on the penalty kill, but we haven't gotten it from Kesselring. So maybe it's more just his health is just not where it needs to be, and maybe Lindy knows that and just has decided, like, look, even though maybe there is some offensive upside to Kesselring's game, he might just not be 100% enough that it's worth taking that risk.
Yeah, Paul has said many times to me, like, if he's not going to be right physically, they should just shut it down and, like, not say the book is closed, maybe next year. But yeah, I don't know. I wonder also, I mean, it's hard to know with the injuries as frequent as they were. It seemed like every time he got close to looking like the player that was advertised, something else would happen, a reoccurrence or something new, and he just never really got to settle in. I wonder if the system really works for him too, Kesselring, because it is pretty curious that he has not gotten another look here yet.
And it's either, you're right, that could be a layer of it, or go back to the health and just say he knows he's not healthy enough to play. But if he is healthy enough to play, I'd be one to. I'm not saying throw him out there against Tampa,
but right, and we're running out of games.
But let's maybe if they are locked, even if they are maybe with 2 games left, if they're locked into a spot where maybe they can't catch Tampa, or maybe they've played so well they've gone 4-0 and they've got it locked up. I mean, I'd like to at least see him if he's physically able to join them on the ice to play a game or two, just to see like, hey, if we come to the playoffs, what options do we have with Kesselring there?
Yeah, I do think the way you worded this was interesting. Like if I can't take Stanley out, and it kind of feels like he's in, right? Like I think they got him for a specific thing with a specific thing in mind, and that is the playoffs and wanting a bigger body for the net front and behind the net and the corners and all that stuff. I mean, we all know what the limitations are. I mean, a man that size, he doesn't move great, and you saw that. I mean, anyone can get caught flat-footed, but boy, when he is flat-footed, it is just like you're dead, right? I mean, that breakaway play was just like, oh no. You can kind of see it coming, but I would be surprised if they took him out.
I think you're right that they probably are thinking we want his presence, his physicality. If there has to be extracurricular activities, we know he can be the first guy in if necessary. It feels like because there has been some errors here and there throughout his short time here with the Sabres, and it hasn't cost him ice time or even coming out of the lineup, that to me that signals they want him in. So that's why I kind of feel like that's the way I preface it to you. I'm saying, well, if I can't take Stanley out, then here's the argument for the others, which is probably why the Stanley Metsa pairing is what I would envision. Again, if game 1 is tonight, I think that's probably what I would go with too.
Yeah. Brian, Tee to Green tomorrow?
Yeah, we're on at 7 to 8. On WGR, we will be at East Aurora Country Club. Looking forward to going there. One of the beautiful spots in Western New York. Obviously, we'll be talking quite a bit about next week's Masters.
Right.
It is the first Masters since 1994 that won't have
Tiger
Woods and Mickelson. Yeah. Mickelson dropped out yesterday due to, he said, personal matters. The two of them, for what, we probably, 15 years ago, it was those two battling us, hoping Mickelson would get even better to chase down Woods at times, that rivalry. And like the two of them, I was talking to the morning show guys about this morning too, even just a sidebar on like the Ryder Cup and how, we keep sitting here, how come the U.S. can't figure it out? I mean, the envision of Tiger and Phil are going to be captains for like a decade straight, and they're going to do what Luke Donald's doing. And they both have just personally messed all that up. Yep. Whether it's off the course stuff or Phil spouting his mouth or live or gambling or addiction or car accident or, they all have, they've messed it up. They were supposed to be Team USA golf here with Woods and Mickelson. And now, even the warm fuzzies of seeing them playing at Augusta. Look at Mickelson obviously has said some things that probably have turned people the wrong way. And I would probably be in that boat too. I rooted hard for him to win that, at the Masters. I always rooted hard for him because he felt like the underdog, even though I appreciated Tiger so much. I always rooted for Phil just because I thought he kind of spelled the underdog, the fun guy out on the golf course that was always willing to take the risk. Having him at the Masters, he's even made some nice little runs here lately, even when he's been older and even when he's been on live. But yeah, we won't get to see either of them next week.
All right, Brian, thanks for all of this. Enjoy tomorrow at East Aurora. And, of course, look forward to next week. We'll have you on, I'm sure, to do the picks. Mike is up to pick 10 for the Masters in our majors bet. So we have that to look forward to, too.
All right. I will get my playing the field mindset ready for us.
All right, Brian. Thanks again for this, man. Appreciate it.
Okay, guys. Thanks.
That's Brian Koziel, Tee to Green tomorrow, 7 to 8, live from East Aurora Country Club. And, of course, he'll be on pregame tomorrow at 6 p.m. for a 7 p.m. puck drop. Sabres in Washington to play the Capitals. 803-0550 is the number. Nate Garian for Mike. I'm the Bulldog. This is WGR.
We've been living in sin so long, all the feels are gone. Fella stopped me on the street last night, said everything's alright. Roller coaster, make it through the day, alright. It seems your meal ticket is gone, but life goes on. I could never imagine something better. Yeah, right. Now you're cooking on high heat in the middle of the street. Roller coaster, take me to a better time. Let's go. All sing your high line with the roller coaster of life. Yeah. It's time to all choose your timeline on the roller coaster of life. You seem to easily forget how to place your bet. When everyday life gets you down, you gotta steal the crown. Got to own it. Don't bitch and moan about it, please. God forbid you scrape your knees, and it's nothing to sneeze at. Oh, I've told you.
No Sabres game tonight. They will be back tomorrow night on the road versus Washington, where, again, if they do win, they will clinch a playoff spot. For more on yesterday's loss, though, to Ottawa, Paul Hamilton has a piece up at our website, WGR550.com. Overall tonight, though, in the NHL, it is a very light evening, just 2 games. The first one at 7 o'clock, the Islanders will host the Flyers, and then at 10, the Ducks have the Blues in town. We do have some NFL news. The Jaguars are signing edge rusher Trayvon Walker to a 4-year, $100 million extension. $77 million of that is guaranteed. $50 million of that is fully guaranteed at signing. And then also today, the NFL concluded that Chiefs wide receiver Rashee Rice, quote, has not engaged in conduct that violates the personal conduct policy. The investigation into the accusation from his now former girlfriend is closed, and at this point, there's no discipline expected for Rice. And then in college hoops, the women's Final Four is tonight. UConn versus South Carolina at 7. And then following that game, it'll be Texas versus UCLA. While for the men, they will get going tomorrow night. UConn versus Illinois at 6. And following that game, it'll be Michigan versus Arizona. That's your Paddock Chevrolet Sports Headlines. Paddock Chevrolet with you for the extra mile since 1935. I'm Zach Jones for Western New York's Voice of the Fan, WGR.
Montreal and Buffalo didn't love that Keith Pelley, the president of MLSE, is talking about their players, specifically 2 coveted prospects, 2 pieces, one in Marcus with the Buffalo Sabres. And these guys factor into being big elements of the success of the future of those 2 organizations. Now, in fairness, know that both those guys were involved in trade discussions. The Buffalo prospect, for sure, was a piece that if Toronto, let's use for sake of argument, was willing to consider trading Matthew Nyes or a bigger piece, okay, that player would have had to have been involved coming back.
All right, it's Darren Drager, TSN, talking about some post-trade deadline drama. Toronto, oh, right. It's about the Pelly thing where he's talking about didn't see the train coming, that kind of thing. You should have seen Montreal coming. I don't know that you should have seen Buffalo coming, but, whatever. Good to have you with us here. I'm the Bulldog, Nate Geary, in for Mike Schopp today. I want to read you something I stumbled across this morning and just get your thoughts on it. I'm not prepared. I'll save the disclaimer for after. I just want to read you this. This is an item that is available for, I think, people to purchase. If you are interested, you could purchase this item.
Okay.
Here's a bit. I don't have the whole sales listing, but I just have this little part of the description about this item. The trowel shows visible wear, staining, discoloration, and signs of heavy use consistent with its time in a high-traffic public stadium. It has not been cleaned, restored, or modified in any way.
Thank God.
Preserving its original condition and authenticity. this item is pickup at Highmark.
Trough
from the stadium.
Yeah.
I think I read that they've sold 15 of 40. Something like that. Or
one of those.
Or that there's only 15 of 40, whatever. 15 and 40 were the key are numbers that I saw. The disclaimer is I am not prepared to offer you any information on how to acquire these items. I don't even know if these are auctions or if they just have a listed price and you can just agree, buy now kind of thing and then just go get it. I'm sure you can Google out there if you are interested in this over your Easter brunch conversations with fellow Bills
talking
fans.
That's what we'll be talking about at Easter.
Urinal troughs.
I like that they really leaned into they're still in original shape.
Visible wear, staining, discoloration, and signs of heavy use consistent with its time in a high-traffic public stadium.
Do you think they used AI for that?
I mean, maybe.
Yeah.
So I am not. I'm not equipped. With a room that could accommodate such a dominant piece of bathroom furniture.
Sure.
Okay. I mean, I just don't have. I don't have the garage man cave space for this. If I did, maybe if I lived in a different house, if I lived in the suburbs and I had that garage or a space above the garage or something like that, I could see the appeal of having such an item in such a space. My question would be, while respecting their wanting to allow the trough to, accentuate its authenticity by leaving the visible wear, staining, discoloration, and not cleaning, restoring, or modifying in any way the trough. I assume if you did purchase an item to put it in your garage, man cave, Bills game place, that you would clean it, right? You would not take that item out of the stadium as it has been used for decades.
Let me ask you this. Would you
not clean it?
Would you get a game-worn jersey and wash it?
Yeah.
You would?
I think
you would buy a game-worn jersey.
I think.
A piece of memorabilia, game-worn jersey.
What am I doing with it? I'm not wearing it.
No.
Okay.
But you're also not I don't think you're using the trough.
No, that's what I'm saying.
Okay.
I think you
because you're not, it's okay to what? Dose it down with a hose? I think at the very least. I mean, let me ask you this, or let me ask broadly, not you. What does it smell like?
That's the question. That's why I'm asking. Like they're punting on cleaning it for you and selling it as, it's authentic. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
Now, I'm having that's in my garage. There's a carpet in there. Maybe it's one of those AstroTurf jobs, whatever, right? But you got there's a screen on the garage door, right? I mean, you live in Cheektowaga, right? You've got that garage.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Was that am I in trouble now? Anyway, this is my dad. My dad has this space. This is his garage. Screen, AstroTurf carpet, right? Kind of junky TV,
West Seneca,
but still.
Cheektowaga, yes.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I got it. I know the space.
So the trough is going in there. Whether you're going to use it, hook it up to plumbing or not is another matter. But, what is that? Oh, that's a trough from the stadium. You're cleaning it. You're going to have people over. It probably smells fiercely offensive.
But they do have, in those things, they've got the patties, I believe, if I'm remembering correctly. So they've got. You
mean the toilet mints?
Yeah, the toilet patties, the urinal patties.
Yeah.
So it provides a pleasant aroma when it hits your nostril initially, at least, or like old ones. And by the end of the year, though, those typically they're not changing those out with a lot of.
Now I want my garage to smell like the.
If you're looking for an authentic experience,
I think you got to clean this thing. Okay,
but how in-depthly are we cleaning it?
A
hose? Are you getting in there with rubber gloves and a scrubber?
Yes.
Really?
Yes.
That's worse than just having it
That's
out.
what has to happen.
You're going to jump into the urinal and you're going to hands and
jumping in, but I'm putting on rubber gloves, halfway up my forearm.
Absolutely not.
I'm getting a brush.
No.
I'm maybe getting a gas mask, and I'm going to work. I'm going to clean. I'm going to clean it.
I think part of the beauty of it is that it's going to have a little.
It's going to stink. It's going to stink.
I think you got to I think what a smart person would do is get some new patties.
But then your garage smells like that. Have you ever walked into a bathroom where they just cleaned and they put new patties in? It's like someone's got an ammonia cloth over your face. You cannot do that to your space. What are you doing? That's a disaster. So I've either got your choices, your plan here, because you don't want to scrub it down and clean it, is either it smells like a stadium trough that was used for 50 years.
Yep.
Or it smells like no.
I know they're not pre-cleaning these things, but there's a good chance they've been cleaned before. Like this isn't.
Well,
they're not just This isn't from.
Well, okay, sure. Week to week, they would be cleaned. But the last game gets played, the stadium is being torn down.
Yeah.
Did somebody go in there and clean those that week?
I might sooner want to buy the sinks. They had probably as much pee in those sinks as there.
That's also probably right.
There's something nice about. So here's my only, I guess, take against myself in this conversation of needing to clean this is, where is it on the wall that you're mounting it on a wall, presumably?
Well, you're mounting it. I mean, I don't think I'm hanging it, but it's gonna be on the floor
at urinal level,
backed up to a wall.
Urinal level.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right. Yeah.
My concern would be the grandkids in the garage, walking for the first time and grabbing onto the.
Right.
Yeah.
This is not an item that you want unsanitized in any space in your house.
Yeah. I guess that's right.
I think. I'm not the cleanest person ever, but I just think there's a certain amount of risk you're taking there if you don't go to town on it. I mean, maybe you could just power wash it. Maybe that would work.
I think if I'm going to get somewhere, it's going to be power washing it in the driveway.
Yeah, that probably right. Maybe
I probably
don't need the scrub brush
and maybe some disinfectant or
for
bleach,
sure.
perhaps
bleach.
some bleach.
Yes.
Yeah.
Bleach. Although you got to make sure, because if that lingers, then you got the same
problem you had with the
urinal mint.
with the patties.
Patty, you do that kind of cleaning in your bathroom. This happens to me. Paper towels, bleach. I'm scrubbing the floor or the toilet or whatever, and you come to work I smell. All I smell on my hands is bleach. I just can't get it off. It takes days. That trough, if you went too hard with the bleach, could end up like that, that's a problem.
I just don't ever want to talk about a urinal mint ever again, because I've never called it that. I've never heard it called it. I've just heard it called a patty, which is also in itself disgusting sounding.
Yeah.
But mint is
I think
bad.
that slang, I think, comes from maybe the belief that at some point some little kid probably thought it was candy. Maybe we should take a break. 803-0550 is the phone number. I am not that kid.
Good.
Don't look at me like that. I am not that kid.
And none of the Parker kids are that kid.
And none of my kids are that kid.
Knowingly.
I'm just saying it seems like the kind of thing that maybe happened to somebody out there. I'm going to leave it ambiguous.
Thank you.
It's not,
I appreciate that.
It's not me.
Good.
803-0550 is the number. He's Nate Geary in for Mike. I am the Bulldog, and this is WGR. Folks, Bulldog here for Win. So the question that I was asked that I wanted to talk to Nate off the air about, I'm wondering if we did a good job or not. Because Mike was going to Mulberry for the first time, and you and I have both been there multiple times.
Yep.
And he asked me, like, what
do you get?
What do I get? And I ended up, I think I wrote the menu to him, basically, because we're in here talking.
So we were really no help whatsoever.
No,
because
I
we
don't.
said,
I really
these
don't.
7 things are fantastic.
Right.
Yeah.
Lasagna, especially if they have the veal lasagna on special. The regular lasagna is great too. Joe Shaw,
rigatone,
the gnocchi. And I said, all that said, I usually just end up on the veal chop.
Yeah.
The veal parm is what I end up doing. But I don't feel like I actually
gave advice.
Yeah. But well, I mean, there's a lot of variety on the menu, so I mean, I at least narrowed it down for him.
Yeah.
So
to 7 things.
Yeah.
But it's fine. I'm sure he.
It was like 4 things.
Yeah.
7.
I know. The Joe Shaw rigatone though.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Chef's kiss.
Delicious.
Yeah.
A friend of ours had that the last time we went, and I had a bite.
The hot cherry pepper.
Oh,
It's just like, and especially because if you go to an Italian restaurant, you're kind of just, it's sauce and cheese. You throw that hot cherry pepper in there, and bingo, bango, bongo.
803-0550 is the number. We're most recently talking about urinal cakes. Josh is next up here on WGR. Hi, Josh. Thanks for calling. You're on the air.
Hi, how are you?
Great.
I was wondering if you really had room if you would actually buy one of the urinals.
I could see it, but I would. That's why I asked about the cleaning. I would want to clean it thoroughly, but I could see it in the right space, like in a garage that's maybe half the year is your space. Early in football season. Yeah.
I'd also have to know what I'm replacing. Am I moving something around to do this? Because there's not really, I would say, a natural spot for a 15-foot steel urinal.
That's right. You need a big space. That's why I'm thinking about a garage. But yeah, I mean, I could see it. I mean, it wouldn't be my choice, but I could see it.
It also would have to. There'd have to be something around it. I just think a urinal on the wall.
Oh, you know what? I know what would be really great around it is people urinating.
How about you just buy one of those round sinks in there? I wouldn't urinated in them too.
That's what I was saying, Josh.
That was
That's
Nate's idea. Yeah,
I would rather have the sink. I
Nate
think
was all about that. Yeah. Thanks for the call, Josh.
More room. More room. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Appreciate it. Chris is next up. Hi, Chris. Thanks for calling. You're on the air here on WGR.
Hey, Bulldog. Chicken parm at Mulberry is the best chicken parm in the world. I just want to say that. But I have a game-used Quebec Nordiques Ron Hextall jersey, the away jersey. So I think it might be the reason why the Sabres haven't won the cup. But I have worn it. I've never washed it. It's got puck marks.
All right.
Possibly blood. So that makes it worth more, I think.
Yeah, you can't wash that.
I rushed the I was trying to defend cleaning the urinal, Chris, and so when Nate asked me that question, I rushed to try to prop up my argument by saying, of course I would. It's going to smell terrible, but
you would never do that.
You don't do that. Right. I think you're on the right track, Chris. It was a bad job by me.
Also, they are called urinal cakes. I don't know where you got mince from. That's somehow a little stranger, but
I know. I'm a weird.
I don't know where Patty's really.
I'm a weird guy.
Came from, but it is for sure. To Chris, it is cakes.
Cakes, yeah.
But that sounds worse.
It sounds
than saying Patty's.
Well, frankly, it sounds edible.
Right.
Which circles you all the way back to the way the last segment ended.
Right. Which
we needed to very awkwardly take a break, and we have driven right into the same ravine.
Truly.
Yeah. Which is hard to do. So there's only been like 6 minutes between then and now, and we're right back in the same place.
Yeah.
You'd think after 30 years doing this, I'd have a clue at how to avoid that.
No.
It's almost like I meant it.
Yeah.
Food for thought.
And not the cakes. Man, I've never. Has anyone needed a beer on a Friday more than us?
Oh, I mean,
I think I might break the fast today. I feel like I've earned it.
Let me tell you. Yeah, there's. Yeah, well, I'm gonna do some heavy lifting this weekend, hosting
yeah,
the
right.
brunch.
So you deserve.
Said the guy who's not making the hardest thing on the menu, which is the homemade pierogies.
Yeah, what are you exactly? You're more of the.
I will the final preparation.
Okay.
They will make and boil the pierogies,
and then
I will fry them up with the onions and the butter and the whole thing.
I'm eating tonight.
I will prepare the kielbasa, but it's really just a pot. It's not hard.
I'm eating.
And one sister's making some quiche, the other one's making a French toast casserole, so I'm all covered.
Okay.
Really, all I got to do is go shopping tomorrow. Get some butter lambs and some pastries, and I'm home free. But I'll get a lot of credit, right? For
I don't
minimal
think you
effort.
should. I don't think you should, but. No. Kirsten does ever, make lasagna though.
You're I will. The invite will be out. Yeah. I promise you that. All right, we'll hit up a timeout. Back to some hockey with our buddy Joe Yurden from Bleacher Report after this on WGR.
Was Thursday, today it's Friday.
It's Mike Schopp and the Bulldog.
We so excited, we gonna have a ball today. Tomorrow is Saturday.
I'm itching inside. My liver's all twisted up. But you know what I did? I took Deborah, went to the liquor store, I loaded up with alcohol. More specifically, vodka, whiskey, beer, tequila, more beer, more vodka, more whiskey, and more beer.
On WGR, Sports Radio 550.